Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 225th episode of Fans of Power. I'm the handsome man, Nathan Kennedy, and over to the left of your screens, we are joined by the runner-up of the all-you-can-eat corn dog contest and parts unknown, Joe Amato, and the man who once ran into Mean Gene Okerlund in the bathroom and whose favorite wrestling match of all time is Jay Leno and DDP, I fucked that up really bad, versus Hollywood Hogan and Eric Bischoff at Road Wild 1998. Tyler Baker.
You can't even bury me properly, can you?
Man, I was all excited about that, and I messed it up.
Oh, that's the open to the next Botchamania is Nathan trying to bury me over Road Wild 99.
Karl Malone. No, damn it. No, it was Jay Leno. But yeah. But before Joe goes and starts here's everyone in the chat room. Joe, I wanted to tell you, I hope they're watching right now. I went to my parents' house today because it's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Shout out to George and Teresa. And she was like, yeah, we watched your show last week. I was like, okay, right on, because they always watch it a little bit and give it a like and everything. And she was like, that one guy. And she knows who Tyler is, so automatically I was like, Joe? She's like, yeah, the mask guy. She was like, he says the F word so much. And I was like, damn, Joe done got my mom offended. I'm like, that's awesome. I looked at her straight face and I was like, well, I mean, he can say whatever the fuck he wants to say. If he wants to just say that the entire time he talks, go for it. I don't care.
I actually was going to say to Joe when he drops, an F-bomb, I'm thinking Joe, what 5-year-old are you trying? Is some guy saying, I'm watching this with my dog and he shits himself when you say fuck on here. So could you not say fuck on the podcast or something like that? And I'm thinking who is it that Joe is trying to avoid offending in this? Well, now that I know his mom's watching, I can't. Well, I was going to say something.
You know what?
See, I was going to pull a cornet and say something pretty vulgar. I'm like, oh my god, no. I don't want her thinking less of me now.
I told her too. I was like, Mom, that's the inner Italian in him. He just gets the hands going and he gets mad and he's just like, yeah, fuck this and fuck that. So yeah,
it happens. But did you tell her it's out of love? When I'm doing this isn't nothing nasty and violent.
The whole spiel of he's not a bad guy. He's just trying to get his point across.
It just it happens, and I don't really do it ever when I'm angry. It just kind of
I beg to differ because I've gotten messages from Joe in the past where he's upset about something else, and it is kind of like every other word. So I just think you don't realize that you're doing it, but I don't really think about it. But I just wanted you to know that my mom popped in and was just like, man, he says that so much because she's not really a fan of the word. If we when I was younger, if we would watch a movie and it had that in it too much, she would just get up and go do something else, and Dad and I would just finish watching the movie. So
I'm picturing your dad laughing about it when she gets up and leaves.
I
might get her loving the word. She might like it at least when I do it. She's like, I can kind of see the humor when he does it. And it might happen here in a second. Oh, yeah. I will try to be calm, but I am going to lose it a little bit. But first,
no. Be angry. She needs to know, what makes this man tick. And if you drop one, it's all for a reason. So Teresa, I will apologize on behalf of Joe. I'm encouraging him to be like that loose,
from now on. When someone says fuck, and if Tyler's like fuck, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Teresa. I didn't mean that.
Could you imagine that? Everyone keeps saying, "Who's this?" And then they start.
And she gets up, walks out of the room, immediately, and your dad's just sitting there laughing. He's like, "Well, he apologized." I got to get that guy a copy of Ghost Rider on full screen DVD.
He's already got a copy of Ghost Rider on DVD.
No, for me, saying, that's so nice. He apologized to my wife on this live broadcast here.
My dad's so passive on all that. I imagine when if that does happen, he just probably looks and then farts or says he's got to go take a crap or something, and that's about it.
Could you imagine though? She's watching with him, and then she looks at your dad, and she's like, "But this guy's fucking cussing all the time." Then she starts. That would be hilarious.
He doesn't really cuss that much either, but just so you guys know, viewer discretion advised. You by now most what you're getting into when you watch this show.
We can't be held accountable if you decide to watch this with your wife or girlfriend or significant other, and your kids in the room. It's like, look, if you're going to pick up, a hard R 80s action film, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to write a letter to my congressman about this movie. I'm sorry, we can't help we can't. Damn it! Now I can't. Yeah, we can't be held accountable
for making fun of me.
For what you find offensive on this podcast. Like we don't talk politics or any of that shit on here. We're not talking about any other hot button issues or topics. Like if me saying the 2000X, back prehistory bullshit offends you, then eat it. I ain't apologizing for that. It's we've already established boundaries we're not going to cross.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the content we share in our opinions offend you, then we're not telling you you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just do like other.
I'd rather do it to your face if I was going to tell you you're wrong.
Just do like other things. If what we say sometimes offends you, just stop the video. Go do something else. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
it'll be okay.
It's okay to disagree with us. We're not by no means saying that our views are right, even though we're kind of implying it without saying it. That way we can get away with it.
I was gonna change the part in the intro about you running into Mean Gene in the bathroom to you walked in on him while he was.
That was a true story. If people are thinking that's fake, that really did happen. So
no, Tyler came up to me. He's like, "Dude, I just ran into Mean Gene in the bathroom." I'm like, "What? No way." That was that.
Yeah, he thought he knew me too, so that was really cool.
and we've said this before. I want to say like on the Beyond Retro podcast that we've done, but there's been so many people.
Oh yeah, the podcast that no one gave a shit about.
Yeah, the podcast no one really listened to. That anytime we would go to a convention or like a little wrestling show or something, and there were people in the business that have been in the business, Tyler walks up and they're like, "Oh hey man," like they know him, and he just goes along with it every time. So that's kind of cool. And there's so many of them that comment. They're like, "Man, your arms are so big." Didn't Hulk Hogan even say like, "Dude, you got some pretty big arms"?
Hogan complimented and said, "Gene, look at this guy, dude." And
look at him. He's all jacked, bro. He's jacked.
Yeah, I relived that magical moment in my head many times, more than you think, dude. That was pretty epic. Yeah.
But I guess it was a good thing.
I wish Nathan had been there for that. That was the one day Nathan decided, I'm getting out of here.
I got the hell out of Dodge, man. I was sick of like being crammed in there like sardines. It was starting to smell like stale ass and Cheetos. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. You know.
A lot of socially awkward people wearing black and sweating a lot.
Yeah.
So
I'm a horror fan. What's your favorite horror movie? Scream 3. Well, that's nice, but no, you're wrong. Sorry. Anyway, Joe. Yeah.
I love Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Well, I mean, if you guys like that, whatever.
It's a shit film. It's a shit film.
It's a piece of shit. Halloween 2 was even worse. Anyway, Joe, go ahead. Acknowledge everyone in the chat room, and then you could go on your big, long rant about something.
Well, I talk 100 miles an hour, so it might be quick. But, first, Adam Gabbert, Fedmon, Sportimus, Dingalorian, Zen Brown, Grimbot, Zentron, Darth Baka, JSP, El Tenda, and that, I think, and, Teresa Kennedy. Yes, Nathan,
Mom's
I'm watching.
Here.
Thanks
She's
for
watching.
the shout out.
You better watch your mouth, Joe.
Thank you for joining us, and I will be very nice when I speak right now.
Joe, do you have some gospel music you can play behind you as you do your little rant here?
You can. Yeah, let me wipe. Yeah, I don't know, one of those like rags or something. Wipe my face, wipe my mask, even though you don't see sweat, but it's the implication. Oh Jesus! Well, here we go. I don't know if you guys seen, but I made a custom Stay Buffed, and it was a crossover of Stay Puft Marshmallow and Masters of the Universe form. Took a hell of a time to sculpt this head and outfit and everything, but I wanted the angry face. Came out good. I was proud of it. Shared it in a couple places. Actually got picked up by a Ghostbusters website, which surprised me, and they put it on their main news, and it's probably one of the most shared photos I ever did. But of course, like always, gotta get somebody that does it. Every time I do a custom, and this happened over on Instagram, somebody had to jump in and say, "Oh yeah, well, why don't you give credit to this person who created it?" And I was like, I don't even know who that is. I said, first of all, I don't know who that is. I said, second of all, I don't copy other people's work. I said, crossover customs, that is something I've been doing for 10 years. I was like, but everybody's bound to eventually have somewhat the same similar idea. I said, so I didn't copy anybody. And then he messaged back and he was like, well, first of all, I don't know who you are. Who you are either. So I was like, nope, not going to do it like here. But message to say, you fucking are on my Instagram page. You're calling me out. You obviously must know who I am, but you're going to do that. But the thought of somebody saying I'm copying people fucking drives me insane because I don't copy anybody's work. All the shit that comes, it's right out of my head. Crossovers are something that, like I said, everybody has done. I'm not the creator of it. They aren't the creator of it. I don't own Ghostbusters, Masters of the Universe. So when you're taking two properties and making one thing, hell, none of us owns that shit. But when that happened, it just pissed me off because I get it every fucking time I do a custom. Like when I did E.T., somebody said, I did E.T., I did E.T. I was like, that's good. And I'm just trying to be nice. That's good. And then they showed their picture where they literally took an ET head, put it on a He-Man body, and said, there you go. I was like, yo, well, for my ET, I sculpted the head. I gave the mechanism where his neck extends because of its like mecha neck. I said I sculpted the stomach, the hands, the feet. I went all out. And you know what? More power to the people that do it. That's great. But if you're going to fucking attack me, I'm going to come back. It just pisses me off, but I'm cool now. So that's my rant.
It sounded like Joe was doing a rap. Like his hands are moving like he's he's the masked rapper. I'm just waiting for like some sort of like shitty, Eminem beat to come behind him, and he's, you coming at me, or some shit like that,
Sorry, Teresa. I apologize, but I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy. I really am. It just happens. I do what I
mean, look, that would be no different than someone doing repaints of classics figures to make them look like Filmation that haven't come out in the line, and someone's like, well, I've already done that. Like, who cares? Yeah. I mean, really, who?
Oh, people do that. I see some of those very lazy paint jobs because everyone thinks if they can paint something, then they're in the custom group, right. Whether it's with He-Man, Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe. I mean, everybody thinks that they don't have to do much to become a celebrity. It's like, oh, he's got talent. Did you see what he did? Like, I when I see stuff like that pop up on social media, I mean, I'm not going to go after somebody because it's not important to me. But when I see that people trying to claim that kind of talent for not, I mean, I've done that, and I didn't go out. I think people should be paying me a lot of money. I should be the one sculpting.
And you know
for the
what?
floors.
That's the other thing too. When it comes to a lot of stuff on the internet and like comment sections and things, like, all right, you have that ability to leave a comment if you want, but sometimes you just need to walk away and just let it be. And don't even say anything. Like, if I wanted to give my opinion on every single little thing I saw on Facebook, it would be horrible because I would just rip into everybody. I'm like, dude, if you see something you don't like, it just kind of ignore it. Just walk away, dude. You don't have to stand up and fight for every single tiny little thing. That kind of shit will kill you.
I mean, when Grimbot decides to comment on one of my cover photos, that was stupid. This was better. And I'm like, I'm not engaged in this horse shit. I just walk away.
Hear that, Grimbot?
He knows what I'm talking about too.
Well, Sin Brown said Joe just unloaded like Joe Pesci, and I kind of feel that way when Joe gets like kind of upset and starts going. He does sort of sound like Joe Pesci in like Casino or something.
Yeah, he gets out of his car and says, "You said I'm bringing heat on you. Get this through your head." I can't go any further because I might offend somebody. But he's Joe acts like a lot like Tom Arnold too, the way he's just kind of flopping around in his chair and doing this. If you've seen that skit of Chris Farley doing an impression of Tom Arnold on Saturday Night Live, that's how Joe acts. He's jumping out of his chair and moving back and forth, and
just can't help but use the hands.
But when he does this, we need to have Nathan play Rough Riders in like the background while Joe's doing his kind of venting session. That would be awesome.
You know what? Because I've started to look into stuff, and I can fix it to where I can import it and have something playing. I won't be able to hear it in my headset, but they will be able to hear it out there. You guys won't be able to hear it either while we're in the call, but the listeners will. So maybe I can find some sort of like generic thing and set that up next time Joe starts doing it. He won't even know that I'm doing it either, and I'll just start.
Won't even know what's going on.
Oh, that's great. It's got to sound like some really bad rap music.
I can do
because we associate Joe from the streets. So
I can do that.
I can't help it. Like I said, I've been talking with my fans for years. It's just that's what the family does.
No. But this is fun for the listeners and for me. So.
You got to have some entertainment. But for your mom, for Teresa, just to let her know, when I say the F-bomb, it's always usually out of love and fun. It's never derogatory to like insult people.
Yeah, I mean, because how else would you take that wonderful American word there? It's,
hey, you little fucker,
we all know mothers across America. They want respect from that word. It's.
I remember one time, it's a quick side note, but I remember when my niece drew a little picture when she was real young, and my sister showed it over to me, and she walked away. I was like, that little fucker can't draw. He just talked to pitch. She's like, how could you say about your niece? I was like, I'm just messing. But
really, though,
I know Teresa like, Nathan, I don't want you playing with him anymore.
All right, we're done. Okay, so whenever you want to go into the first topic, what do you want to do, Tyler? You want to do the commentary first or last?
Oh, God, we got a packed schedule here tonight too. We got so much stuff to get into. So you know what? We'll go and do the commentary. That's the longest part. So we'll go ahead and do that one.
Okay. Link is down below. You guys can go ahead and get that clicked on and set it up. And I guess I can go ahead and segue a little bit. Tyler gave me a plethora of episodes to check out, so I have been sort of taking in a lot of She-Ra episodes the last week and a half. Nice little handful. I actually made another list for myself because I started looking up other sort of one-shot villains. I'm like, what episode were they in? And I started, this one's going to have Seahawk in it too? Okay. And then I just kept going and going. I haven't watched any of those yet, but I have a list right here of 8 episodes that I just put down myself. So I want to thank Tyler for giving me some of his personal favorites, and he gave me a few of his personal favorite Master Universe episodes to check out as well. So I've just been absorbing, taking in a lot, buying more classics, burning money. Money's just flying out of my wallet right now. But it's okay. And no one else is saying anything. I'll just Tyler looked like he's about ready to say something.
Well, no, I'm letting Nathan say it because it emphasizes the point. One of the episodes, and it was good for Nathan to go back and watch all the episodes that me and Joe have done commentaries for, and he watched it with nobody's influencing or saying anything. Watch this part. He's watching these particular episodes, and he's getting why they're good. I didn't tell him why Huntar is good or why Seahawk's good or Unexpected Ally. And one of my favorites is he went back and watched Sleepers Awaken, and he nailed everything that makes that episode perfect.
Yeah, I sent him notes through text, or my thoughts and everything, and all I get back is just a bunch of caps locked words and phrases and exclamation points because he was just very excited. But I got all my notes here because I figured what I would do, it'd be beneficial to me later on when we come back to him, so it's not oh yeah, what happened again. I have a little notepad thing over here, and then when I watch, I got the episode over here on the monitor, and then I got it clicked on there, and I can type without looking at my hands. So I'm just sitting there doing that as I watch and taking notes the whole time. And it's been cool. It's been a lot of fun to just really absorb it. Little things, questions that I'm kind of thinking as I'm watching it that, especially in this one, I'll go ahead and toss a few your way, and you guys can kind of converse in the chat and give your opinions as well. And yeah, I guess without any further ado, since we got it all loaded up, Tyler, give us a countdown. We'll get going.
All right.
Oh yeah, this is a Stone and the Sword, by the way. We didn't. You guys can see it in the thing, but we'll say it here as well. Why did you pick this one in particular this week?
That was an episode I'd recommended to Nathan, and he genuinely liked it. And we hadn't done She-Ra in a long time, and it's an episode I saw as a kid. In fact, this just worked out good, as I got the very VHS that I used to watch that, the Seahawk, and Duel at Devlin all on the same VHS tape, which is a hard-to-find She-Ra tape here in the States. And I found one copy last Friday.
Move that a little bit
and bought
closer to your face, because it's kind of...
All right, yeah.
Shift it.
Oh, there we go.
Over a little more to the... I guess you're right. There you go.
All right. All right, yeah. You see it on eBay. And I've only seen it less than a handful of times on eBay, and it's got 5 episodes. It's one of those magic window tapes that would have 5 episodes on it. And they did a couple with He-Man, and I think just one with She-Ra. And they were a gem because most tapes had 1 or 2 episodes. This had 5. And the back's got pictures from the Seahawk episode of Katra and Sven with one of the Seahawks crewmen. But I've only seen this, I think, maybe one other time on eBay, and I found it right before me and Nathan to do. I said, hey, let's do some of this. I don't think Joe would have a problem with that. So I bought it, and I was like, I'm going to share this on the podcast because it's a really hard to find VHS. I was so proud that I got it. So I'm going to put that on display at the proper time there. But it's a good episode. I didn't appreciate it as much as a kid. I loved it more as an adult. Because it's more about good storytelling and not necessarily it's who's in this episode, right. Which is kind of a higher selling point for me as a kid. So, But the episode speaks for itself.
And at one point, I may give a call out for you guys to give me timestamp, because I imagine I'll get hit with ads where I'm logged into the Fans of Power account on here. But I hope you guys have it loaded up in the chat room, and when you guys watch this later on, hope you got loaded up. Tyler, countdown. We'll get going.
3, 2, 1, action.
One note that I definitely made it a point to write down. I love the music in this series. Like, there's some similarities to Masters, but it's got a lot of stuff too that sets it apart, makes it unique, and it's got like the funkier bass line stuff throughout, and I always gravitate towards that kind of music anyway.
There are certain pieces in this series I absolutely love, but I hate the re-recorded stuff that was done. Like Skeletor's theme is redone for this show, and it sounds terrible. It doesn't sound as menacing. But there are certain pieces that are played in certain scenes, and some of them are in this episode too. I'm like, oh my, this like makes me want to get up and go kick some ass, man. So it's but I think it's cool that Nathan noticed stuff like that. You know, Joe, how come you don't notice stuff like that?
Because I'm a dipshit. But no, no. So, I mean, I just I always remember just getting the chills just watching this intro along with He-Man's intro back in the day. It's just, goddamn, got so excited for cartoons back then. They sure don't do this shit like it. I mean, they don't do it like they used to.
No, and I always, as a kid, watched this because I didn't get to sit too much on TV. But seeing that the wide shot of She-Ra and the Rebellion, and trying to look quickly at who was in that picture, and then the projecting shots of Montana, Leech, and Shadow Weaver. I got so excited seeing that as a kid because the background was so cool looking, and seeing all them. And see Grizzlor and Hordak here admiring the Doom Balloon, which after going back and rewatching it for fun, I thought like, hell, that would have been a cool toy in the same vein as the Turtle Boy.
I made a lot of the same note and watching all the other episodes that you gave me the list for, because you see all these variety of vehicles. I'm like, those would have been nice if they were ever produced. It just seems like a missed opportunity there. But I guess a couple of things kind of came to mind instantaneously in thinking about that, especially when it came to the toys, is I know primarily She-Ra was sort of, and I think I may have said this before, that She-Ra was sort of like the offspring of like, well, let's try to get little girls interested in the same kind of property. You know, we're going to produce these toys that go out in the masses. And I know that you guys watched this as a kid, but do you think that there was a decent amount of crossover between the two? Do you think that there were a lot of girls that were watching this and then going over to He-Man, and maybe vice versa?
Oh, sure.
Well, they had said that girls were watching He-Man. There was a percentage of girls they were found it liked He-Man, right. But they really were pushing for more of the flat-out girl appeal with the pinks and the combing of hairs, whereas Filmation approached it with, we can make this a lot like He-Man. We can have the girl aspects, but when you watch this, I mean, I'd say 70% of the time you feel like you're watching a cartoon for boys and girls and not a girls' cartoon. I mean,
yeah, growing up, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody I knew as a kid, every boy watched She-Ra and didn't feel like they were watching a, you know, if you want to say a girly cartoon. It just felt comfortable for guys and girls both to watch it, and the girls that I knew watched He-Man also. It just, when it came to the toys, that was the different thing, because the She-Ra figures were more dolls than figures, right. So a lot of the guys, I knew didn't collect them like me. I didn't collect She-Ra. It just felt different. Yeah. But, if they would have did it like how Classics did, everybody fucking welcomes Classics. It's like, goddamn, they all just blend right together. But that's how it was. I mean, when you were growing up, it just felt like it was a doll. And, the guys usually didn't play with the dolls, but played with the action figures. And we took that so offensively. No shit, when somebody said you're playing with a doll, we'd say, it's an action figure. Because we felt like, oh, you're trying to insult me and say I'm playing with dolls or something. You know, right. That's how kids are. That's how boys are. But
I get that mentality, because there was one time too, I think I was playing with a toy that was kind of in between and sort of that phase too. And I remember one of my cousins was just like, "Oh, you play with dolls now?" And I was like, "No," and then just like never played with it again, because I was just like, kind of, I guess, embarrassed or didn't want them to make fun of me or whatever. But in terms of the toys too, and I may have brought this up the last time, I may have done a commentary with you guys when it came to Hordak and getting the color scheme that you got in figure form and then having to watch it in Filmation. What was there ever a thing like a disappointment with the color scheme of that figure? Not that there's anything wrong with it at all, but did you have like a preference, like, oh, I wish it would have been these colors at all?
I liked them both. I actually didn't have an issue because when it came to the toys and the comics, that's just how I was used to seeing Hordak as a toy and in the comics, like the mini comics. And when it came to the cartoon, I was used to this. But no, I didn't prefer, I wish it was a blue figure, or I wish he was grayish in the cartoon. They worked for both respective properties.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. Like Montana, Leech, Grizzlord, they all look different from their toys, but I'm like, I knew that was Grizzlord, that's Leech, that's Montana. Like, as long as I could tell that's who it was, it didn't bother. I think Merman was the only one, but I didn't have a Merman figure as a kid. And when I saw that he didn't look like Filmation, I thought Filmation was so much better. But for the most part, they did well, at least as a kid. When I got older and saw characters like Tongue Lasher, I'm like, oh my god, like that's Tongue Lasher.
And Tyler, how can anyone look at? I mean, just look at this art and animation. How can anybody honestly look at that and say, I think the art's corny. I think the art's terrible. The animation's horrible. When I hear people say that shit, I'm like, did you ever watch these cartoons?
Well, they don't. It's people reading these bullshit top 10 lists because people who never watched it think it's all cartoons that were popular in the 80s, but now they all, and they're all referencing homosexuality. Like all the men are nothing but gay, fruity men or something like that. And it's just strictly, for... I don't know, that nothing holds up because it's much more funnier to go along with the juvenile approach to all this stuff because 80s stuff is so popular and has been for about 20 years now. Shows no signs of going away. It's more easier for these jerk-offs to make a top 10 list of the top 10 reasons why He-Man Filmation is so homoerotic or some stupid shit like that, And this show right here, I think we all know the people who worked on the current She-Ra show didn't really watch too much of this show because,
admittedly, they said it. We're not going to. We definitely won't go down the rabbit hole.
We're not. But just this episode alone is a prime example of. I mean, we've got two big stories going on here that all culminate to the second, the main story, the second act. But it's just one example of how well written this show was for boys and girls, and people just don't have time today to actually research the stuff. It's all about living in the moment and being a part of everybody else. It's like when someone gets picked on in school. Oh, they got to jump in on the reindeer games and make fun of the kid who's being picked on. That's how He-Man and She-Ra and Thundercats and G.I. Joe and Transformers are all made fun of because everybody else is doing it. Whereas fans like us, we know they're full of shit and they come off as morons, but they don't see it that way because they're the one doing the picking.
And I love it that, at least with this here, I love seeing them all take it right to Hordak, showing that, again, everybody is treating everybody else equally, not like one is lesser than the other, but damn it, Glimmer's going, she shoots out her powers, that Doom Balloon uses that, shoots it against her, Bo with the smoke arrows, I just like seeing them all get in, but this is the shit right here. Boy, you got chills when you see He-Man or She-Ra, when they transform, it's like, God, it's powerful. How can anybody?
It was stunning. Like I always liked that kind of gold aura that popped that was around her, and seeing Grayskull behind her because it was a little while before I grasped the fact that they were brother and sister. So to see Grayskull behind her was like a big link to me to connect the two cartoons before I would actually see that they were brother and sister. And this shot of her like staring down the Doom Balloon is badass.
I was gonna say like this shot looks good, and then when the Doom Balloon sort of disintegrates, I like the animation in that.
Oh yeah, it's very well animated. See, this could have made a great Earl Norton poster or something like that.
Could you imagine if he drew something like that? Oh dear God.
Man, Nathan, if you haven't seen it, the painting he did of She-Ra in the sky with the sorceress being made out of clouds, one of the most finest pieces of work Earl Norton ever did.
You'll have to, you'll have to dig that up and send it to me at one point.
Oh, I'll be easy to find. God, it's stunning.
Yeah, so
I think I have that piece without the all the word and text on it too. If you want to get clean too.
Oh yeah.
One thing I did.
See, a movie exec who wants to do a She-Ra would look at this. Let this painting here should tell you everything, and then show them the picture of the Horde. That's the villains. That's what you want to see.
I had one thing in my notes, and I don't know if it's something that maybe people just watch it and don't really think about it, but since it had been a long time, really, since I've kind of sat down and watched hardly any She-Ra, when it comes to Hordak, do you think it can be a little off-putting for first-time viewers with how much he just like snorts and things, because when it comes to Skeletor, you don't get as much of that like as he's talking.
First time people, maybe if you got used to it, I mean, you're used to it. But like I said, that was something at one time even slightly irritated me. But I understand the context of what it's supposed to be, that pig sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people get over it. Now this part was fucking crazy though, because when you see Nadora, it's like, wait a second, she can't transform. That was scary as a kid. As stupid as it sounds, just a simple crack. That was freaky.
Well, because they do it like this, and then they hang on it, and then it fades to black. So, commercial break. And I had it there. I'm like, I can't imagine being a kid watching this on a Saturday morning and seeing that, and they're like eating their bowl of cereal, and then they just stop. And they're just like, oh, no. That would have been a cool feeling to have as a kid, yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean. It's great to create those moments where you're believing what you're watching on the cartoon, on the screen. You're seeing your hero, and it's like, oh my God, she can't transform. It's just like remember when Adam couldn't turn into He-Man, when he's in Trala, but by saying it backwards he could. But when he first couldn't, you're like, holy shit, he's gonna be stuck as Adam. What's gonna happen? And when Adora was stuck like that, you're like, what? But I like this trek in this journey. That we get with her here. This is beautiful.
Which is why when I start, I'm like, oh, this is why Tyler likes this episode, because he always gravitates towards those episodes that always involve some sort of trial to overcome to reach a goal.
Sure. I mean, it's something that's been done a lot, but damn it, they make great stories. Like that's the same storytelling device that's been used in movies and television shows and comics and stuff for many, many years. And if done right, it's unforgettable. In this episode, I like this, sequence of them mocking Bo. It's just, it's great villainy here. But this episode, like, I feel like it's a good portrayal of Cal. Like, Cal is never like lumped in with the sidekicks that get on people's nerves. And I take offense to people who don't like Orko and Snarf. But Cal, like, I would love to have like Cal hang out and like in a he's just such a lovable character and very loyal, and he's just a fun character too. Like he's just
and how important he is too. Even his role is part of the Great Rebellion of what he does. Yeah. Not only to give intel like he did at the beginning, but as you're going to see when when Adora would need help. Yeah, he's loyal, and when she needs help, he can help. Because, like, damn, when the sword would be gone, you're like, oh, shit, what's she going to do now? But for him to retrieve it, it's just, like I said, he's a very pivotal, important character. And for him to be I won't go into the rant. But for him to be dismissed in a new series pissed me off as he's a fucking pillow. But whatever.
Well, I mean, there's people who don't know jack shit about proper storytelling, don't care about this series. But Cal, like, Lou Scheimer does not get enough credit for all the voice work that he did on the show. And his work as Cal, I know everything has to be modified a little bit, but it's just he's such a lovable character. Like I have him proudly on my shelf here with the He-Man characters because I want him displayed a little bit more prominent because I love the character. And Light Hope, Lou's doing Light Hope here as well.
I'm gonna say another thing when it does come to the Netflix She-Ra. I think if it just would have been a new IP with new characters and called something else, it would be fine. But to like go in here and change so much and just basically suck out all the meaning to it in a way, and like I don't know, it's a colossal no thanks for me. I can't believe I watched as much because of that as I did. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Well, your mom's got good reason to be mad at Joe over that one.
Yeah.
So
yes, you can. Yeah.
But I think the thing for me that I actually really enjoy about She-Ra, you got Hordak and you have the Great Rebellion, and I like how in some of the other stories that are told, a lot of it has to do with, the Horde coming to collect taxes from other people. So you get like this other section of people that are tired of being suppressed by this, and you get these other characters introduced, and I like that central idea. It's more than just good and evil. There's like way more in depth than you would normally get in a lot of cartoons. Or am I just talking out of my ass? I don't know.
No. I mean, there's a lot of depth to this cartoon. Like, and that's what makes me so mad when people want to dismiss all these '80s cartoons. Is just lumps of cheese and camp is some of the choice words you hear all the damn time.
Are there?
Well, they sure take our. You know what's funny about that, real quick? Not to mean to interrupt you, Nathan, but it's funny. As much as they fucking want to talk about the '80s cartoons like they're crappy and cheesy and corny, they sure fucking take and reinvent them all the time and try to use them because they know people loved them, but they want to try their spin, which sucks ass, and people always gravitate back to this because this is the shit we've been celebrating for over 30 years. Unlike the stuff now that's being made, nobody's going to give a shit next year. Hell, we wouldn't even remember tomorrow.
Grimm 2, I was talking with him, and he brought up a good point that there are a lot of people out there that didn't even know 2000X existed. What chance does Netflix She-Ra have, you know? So it's...
That's a great point. And think of how great MYP was,
right.
You know?
So I don't see it really being remembered much at all.
Oh, no.
It's not going to be, and that's why people keep going back to doing versions of, and this is the one sequence I remember the most as a kid was going down the staircase. Like I couldn't
feel like adrenaline rush.
It was such a memorable sequence to me as a kid, but until I saw it as an adult on DVD, that's all I could remember about the episode. That and climbing the mountain, and that was it. The Sky Dancer Mountain, but
it made you panic, at least with me as a kid. I always remember that scene. It's like, get the fuck down there, you know, because they're just going so quick. But you actually felt like you were on a little bit of a roller coaster, like avoiding the giant boulders. So they did
it was so beautifully animated.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like seeing this friendship between Adora and Kyle here, just going through all these trials and obstacles and stuff. And it's just... It's a good friendship story that you're seeing the two of them go through. That he's gonna go with her through all of this, like of everybody.
Because it's not too often. It's always usually him with Bo most of the time. So for him to be with her that much for the episode, yeah, it was great to see. I did like seeing the different bond. I even felt like, you know, as a kid, Mantenna got picked on so much that when I seen Grizzlord getting the treatment, I almost felt like, was that originally supposed to be maybe written for Mantenna, and they decided, let's just write in Grizzlord, because it felt, you know what I mean? It felt different to see.
But there's a lot of episodes where Grizzlord is for want of a horse comes to mind immediately. And as a kid, I didn't see it because I was just like, Grizzlord, oh, he's awesome, he's badass. And as an adult, I'm like, man, it's unfortunate, but it's not overly offensive because I feel like at times, like, just seeing Grizzlord is there, Mantenna's there. Like, I like how they were portrayed.
Yeah, and I like seeing anybody else, but I just, for this episode in particular, I just always got a vibe. It felt like it was supposed to be for Mantenna, because as much as he endured more than anybody. You're right, Grizzlord got it sometimes too, even Leech, but just, but... Yeah, this is just, it's a great episode, and it also shows a lot of character building that they say we didn't get. Remember, this is something you never got in the original She-Ra cartoon. Maybe you got it in Secret of the Sword, but throughout the series, you never seen character building or anything different with the characters. This fucking proves everybody wrong. This is at least one of them.
I actually think that the series got better as it went along, not necessarily season 2 as much. But that first season after Secret of the Sword, like, there was some, really well-written episodes after Secret of the Sword. And, like, the dialogue and the voice acting got better, I think.
And you can kind of see, too, because, you know, this is coming out a little bit after Masters had already started. You can start to see some of the gradual improvements with the animation and, like, the shadowing and everything.
Like, this shot right here of her walking into the fire. God, that's badass.
No, they were definitely beneficial of getting more of the animation, because you're right, that's as He-Man ended, so She-Ra got the benefit of getting more of that. But, you know, Masters of the Universe, they got some more animation as well when it got into season 2, and I'm sure if they would have went to season 3, we would have got even more of that as well. So, but no, this is beautiful. Like you said, all the different, I did always like the shadowing, and when I'd see that in an episode of Masters of the Universe, you know, that was always really noticeable because you weren't used to seeing it too much. I'm not saying it didn't happen a lot, but certain episodes you would just, you know, see it even more, or at least notice it.
I mean, and we're watching this as adults. Like, we're picking up on details we didn't always pick up on as kids, because we're looking at it from the most simplest perspective. And, you know, I know, like, when we had Robbie London on, I'm telling him how great Diamond Ray is. Like, it's a shit story, man. Like, it wasn't
that is
good,
fucking
kid.
Crazy.
You know, I'm like, you know, I know adult writers are not really putting that much thought, but I feel like there's some episodes they put more thought into it than. But then again, along with them and the animators and the editors and who are adding the music to certain scenes that amplify and intensify the situation, just like the banter between Hordak, like mocking Bo. I mean, it's just extra flavoring on a great pizza. It's like adding another fun-loving topping on this, and there's so much more to it that, you know what, they may not have intentionally tried to write more. But all together, it's one hell of a
I like
pizza.
that part too, where he's basically just like, "Oh, she can't get in here," and then she just punches through the fucking floor.
Mm-hmm.
And Melindy Britt does a great job of being very confident in this scene. Like I would have much preferred that she knocked the shit out of the Horde troopers and then pick Grizzler up and throw him instead of just jumping out of the way. I guess they felt it was.
And this is a good part too, where like the one-liners that she gives throughout this bit work. Just from the delivery standpoint alone, it doesn't sound like. It doesn't make you want to roll your eyes. It doesn't sound too cheesy. And back to Joe's point about. Are there some kind of cheesy and corny things in these cartoons? Of course there is. Like
there are moments, of course. I mean, there's some episodes that are nothing but that.
But I love what we were just saying right there. All the voice acting, especially when it comes to Melindy Britt, to how the way she portrays Adora and She-Ra as two completely different people. They sound like it and they feel like two different characters. And that's something that, again, they did back in the day, was doing voice acting. It wasn't just people using their normal voice to talk and do that character. That's not voice acting. That's you fucking talking and doing the role. And nothing. I was going to do another rant, but not going to.
Well, and here, George DeCenzo laughing, like that could be a really bad eye-rolling moment, but because he's such a menacing job as Hordak, he's laughing and saying, "Oh, get even." I'm like,
well, that's it.
It works because he sounds so effective, and you're like, "Oh, I buy him as Hordak all the time." And by the way, snorting, that's a trademark for Hordak. I loved it as a kid. I wouldn't want to hear Hordak not have a trademark snarl or snort at some point in another version of He-Man.
I noticed they toned it back. Like, I know what you mean. Like, at first, when they first started with the series, there was a lot of extra snorting. There was a lot more from Shadow Weaver. There was a lot more slurping from Leech. They toned that. They dialed it down, if you will.
But Leech needs to slurp a lot. Like, to me, that sounds like he would be constantly, like, slobbering.
I know what you mean.
Saliva running down. And I like Montana's, like, it works. I can't explain why it works, but...
Yeah, I mean, it does. It works. I can understand, like I said, how people could get annoyed with it being overdone. Like, okay, there's overkill, and then, there's just getting it in a nice medium. And they did eventually dial it back to where it was a good medium, because I do like all their trademark things. Just, I can understand, like, with what Nathan was saying. If it's just done every fucking 3 seconds or something, it's like, okay, enough, we get it. But that was a great fucking episode. I mean, and it shows how great this cartoon is. And not just, I was going to say was, but is, because you can always go back and watch this and still enjoy it, any of the episodes. And just like we said, sure, can there be corny things from anything? Yes, but it's not a terrible cartoon. It was loved enough to where some people tried to bring it back and just, they didn't know anything about it and it was a pile of shit, and that's why it won't be remembered. And that's why I'm going to say it now. The new She-Ra, you hear fucking Adora and you hear She-Ra, it sounds like the same fucking person. And there's no emotion, there's no caring and love and voice acting in their characters. It's all just them talking. And the same thing with Bo. As much as that voice actor Marcus Scribner wanted to mock the original Bo's voice acting, I was like, yeah, he's doing voice acting. You're talking, and your talking sucks ass. But that's it. I won't talk about that shit.
I think this is why we avoid watching episodes of She-Ra.
I only did it once. That's it. I'm done.
Well, no, I think I enjoy stomping all over that piece of shit cartoon, and I think it's good to remind everybody that we do think it sucks. It will always suck. And we're not here to antagonize people who genuinely liked it or thought it was okay. Yeah. But damn it, we're going to say we hated it. It was a piece of shit. It was a brown skid mark stain on the reputation of She-Ra, in my opinion, because you could pick 3 episodes from this series. I mean, that would rip it a new ass in terms of quality. Hell, I give you 1 episode. This episode alone destroys any credibility that the writing staff had. That maybe they're more fitting for writing something else. But She-Ra was not their forte.
That's what I'm saying. It should have just been a new IP.
But that's not me trying to apologize and try to be all peace. Like no, it's like if they hadn't come out and trash the fans and the people who like to come out and just stand up against people who got problems with stuff because that's like another trendy thing to do. You get no dog in the fight, but you'll come out and mock the fans. Even though you're not really a fan of the property itself, but you hear people complaining, they changed this in Star Wars. Star Wars fans are a bunch of dickless virgins or something like that. You're like, fuck you, man. That's why it was so great that Melindy Britt came out and defended the fans, because they felt that, what? Why should we have to apologize? They're changing everything. The animation looks like shit. The voice acting shit. And they clearly don't give 2 shits about why we have kept this property alive.
No, they don't. That's the thing. If they wouldn't have insulted us from the beginning, we probably wouldn't have said all that stuff, because what did they do from the start? Like I said, unlike the MYP cartoon, when that came out, they proudly advertised it. That was it. They didn't say, this is going to be better than the Filmation one. And you guys, if you like that horrible animation, get ready for They never did that. They came out with the MYP cartoon. They were proud of what they had. Bam, people loved it. Now here it comes with the Netflix thing. They insulted first the creator of this shit show of She-Ra, the new one.
Don't even say her damn name. She doesn't deserve to have any recognition.
That's why I said just the creator. I didn't even say her name. She, on Twitter, said, all men lack imagination and self-awareness. So I was like, okay, you just pissed off all men right from the start. That's the most sexist thing you could do. Why would you do that?
It's like, we get it, you're a lesbian, but you don't have to come out and alienate half your audience here.
Exactly. And that was before she started talking about the cartoon. You insult guys. Then when the cartoon comes out, what do? Everybody makes fun of the art, the animation, the storylines, the voice actors, and then us fans. They attacked everything that encapsulated the 80s and for this cartoon and shit all over us. So you bet we're going to come back and defend ourselves and say some stuff. And if you're going to have the balls, if you're going to have the gall to say that we lack imagination and you write this shit show and all this is basic, let's just take reality stuff that everybody can relate to and throw it in a fucking cartoon and take out any fantasy element. Get rid of the Twiggets, which were an integral part of She-Ra. Get rid of Loki, get rid of Cal, get rid of Madame Raz, get rid of Broom. All these fantasy characters that were so important and pivotal to the cartoon. Get rid of them. Let's just have all basically human fucking characters complain about, am I grounded? Why doesn't She-Ra, or why doesn't Adora like me? Why doesn't Hordak like me? And Shadow Weaver.
Should have just been an entirely different thing. Then none of it. There would have never been any problems.
Something else. Yeah. Exactly, because it's so far removed from the original She-Ra. It's not She-Ra. There's nothing that feels like it, captures the love, imagination, heart of that original cartoon. It just spit all over the legacy of it and shit on it and just gave us kids, 10 to 13-year-old little kids in a cartoon. I don't give a fuck about that. I like watching when they're adults, they're heroes, and they mean something, and you feel like you're escaping into a realm of reality and fantasy when you watch the original She-Ra. This new She-Ra, it's like they're fucking cosplaying like they're in a fantasy world, but they talk like they're from Earth. It's a complete shit show. And Tyler, how about we talk about the treachery of Modulok?
I will say this real quick. What the hell happened to that shitty toy line that people were like saying, oh, it's coming and it's going to be in store and people are going to be buying it, and like, because nobody. What the hell happened to that?
It showed up at Target and was there and collected dust and then went on clearance.
Yeah.
Okay, I never even saw it. I guess so.
Oh, that's what's crazy about them figures and dolls when they came to Target. Now remember, that was Target exclusive. It's not like it was Target, Walmart, Myers, and every other store. One chain carried it. And it couldn't even sell out at one chain. It went to clearance at every fucking store. Every one. If it was such a hot-selling toy series, it would have been sold out everywhere. It wouldn't even had time to make it to clearance. So, yeah, that's great. Thumbs up. Pile of crap.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea because I'm like, I was checking myself out. I want nothing to do with it. So
before we move on, I hope you guys in the chat room found Loki during the episode, which... I like that character. I know I saw in the chat Zentron doesn't care too much for that character, but I like that idea because if you look at it from the standpoint of it being a kid's cartoon, with Masters you have the morale thing at the end of like, oh hey, don't steal stuff, don't put a fork in an electrical outlet kind of thing. With this, it's like you're watching the episode in hopes every week that you can find that character sticking out somewhere. So I think that's it's a cool little thing.
It was a fun part. I remember with my mom, I'd always watch She with my mom, and we were always trying to find Lookie together, and she was always usually beating me every time to do it. So I'd get excited if I ever beat my mom, finally, I found him. But so those are good memories, good shit. But yeah, great cartoon, and it should be celebrated a lot more. We'll have to pick up some more commentary.
Well, I'd say the next commentary we'll do another She-Ra cartoon, because I know we've done a shitload of He-Man for obvious reasons, but you know what, we ought to do either like the Seahawk or Black Snow with Nathan next time, or we'll just do like anything with Modulok in it too, because Modulok is God, is it? Well, not to do a transfer here, but it's like he was so well done to have him established in He-Man, and then to show him actually work for Skeletor and jump ship to the Horde, like that is taking time to make sure that one character, thanks to Laird Titilio and Michael J. Straczynski, to play up this fact that it's not really mentioned a whole lot. It's mentioned in this mini comic that he worked for Skeletor, but to show it and to actually see him, and I want to see more of that. Like, I'd like to see some actual more stories of Modulok with the Evil Warriors as an established member, as like his head scientist that creates a lot of technology, weaponry, aircraft, and various weapons for Skeletor. And see that for a while. We get one episode where he's in the background standing next to Too Bad, and a really bad episode from season 2. But I always found that fascinating. I know Joe and I have talked about that before, and we see it here, and we see it in Gateway to Trouble. But it would be just so cool to see what that time was like for Modulok actually working as a member of the Evil Warriors and working with Skeletor. Like, I want to see a little bit more of that and build up to where I was like, you know what, I'm out of here.
No, that would have been great. And then eventually, like I said, within She-Ra, since we got just, I think, a few episodes with them, I always wanted more because it was cool. Just when you see the crossover stuff, when you see characters that were on Masters Universe and pop up, and of course in toy form, we know, okay, Modulok's supposed to be part of the Evil Horde. So I always wanted more of him. Like I said, he's always kind of been, well, I mean, you can look at my face, one of my favorite characters.
Well,
but I think, what do we get? Maybe
let's make a deal right now that go from here on out in the future when we watch She-Ra. We will no longer mention that shitty Netflix show. It's done now.
I won't.
It's done. It's over.
I think we have said our piece for the last and final time. And I tell you what, if they catch either me or if someone if Nathan or anybody in the chat room catches me and Joe decided to go on a rant, we ought to be held to a penalty or something like that. We gotta
actually watch another episode of that show. There you go.
No, I am not doing that. No,
that's
I said to hell with the listeners then if that was the case. But there should be something. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we will be held accountable. We can issue a public apology and
$500.
We will let them pick the next topic of discussion if we were to screw up or something like that. Like if we were expected to talk about the McDonald's Happy Meal toys for a good 10 minutes, so we can talk about which one was our favorite. But then, if we make that mistake,
but then you'd run into the thing of like we're gonna get topics that Tyler doesn't want to talk about at all.
Well, then it's on their head. If we give out the opportunity for a listener to decide for us what we talk about, it is on their head.
I got it.
To give us something.
I got it. And it goes back into the line of what I said. If we're gonna do a She-Ra, another episode of She-Ra commentary next week, if we do that, and at any point during that show, if Joe or Tyler mention anything about Netflix She-Ra, then we have to do a commentary for the prom episode of Netflix She-Ra.
Ooh, whoa, no.
There we go. It's done.
Well, I have a really bad case of diarrhea that day.
I'm sure. You can't back out. I feel like that would be a good way to keep you guys from talking about it anymore.
I agree. I won't say it, and I know that. I don't know if it's next week. Or are we going to have Kevin Sharp back?
Because I know.
Yeah. I'm saying like the next commentary that we want to do on the podcast.
Okay, there we go.
We got Kevin Sharp, and then I don't know.
But you know what? Kevin's a Manny Faces fan. If we do well, shit, that doesn't work either. Damn it. Backtracks. I was going to say. All right, never mind.
Like I said, not the week after Kevin Sharp, but the week maybe 2 weeks after Kevin Sharp, because I think we'll get James Etok back on. He wants to do commentary. Let's do Gateway to Trouble. Yeah, Gateway to Trouble. It'll have She-Ra, and it'll be about Modulok.
Well, even though I was going to say, I'm just saying we've already done a Gateway to Trouble commentary. Should we do that again and bring James on, or you want to do one we haven't done? No, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying because I know Joe forgets what we've done, so I'm saying I'm game to do it. I'm just trying to make sure Joe's not thinking we've never done it before. That's the only thing I'm trying to say.
Cool, because not only Modulok, but I mean to have James doing it along with Nathan and all four of us. I thought, I mean, to have all four.
All right, yes, but we will revisit Gateway to Trouble with James, and then after that, then we'll do. Well, hell, we could do. I was gonna say one of those that I gave Nathan a shitload of episodes to. We could do the Seahawk. We could do revisit Sleepers Awaken because Nathan did a great feedback on that episode. Or Mistaken Identity, only because Modulok is so well portrayed, but it's a bad episode. But he's so good in it though. Modulok is, but We're planning too far ahead here.
Wait. Yeah. No, all right. We'll change it from the prom episode of She-Ra to the island from NYP, which I have actually watched. That's what we'll do if they bring Netflix.
Yes. We need to let everyone know that Nathan decided out of curiosity.
Morbid curiosity. I checked it out. So that will be the plan. If they bring up Netflix She-Ra at all anymore, period, really, then we'll do the island commentary. It's
no longer being used as we're officially out of ideas. It is our punishment for saying, like, I'm sure people are just tired of us hearing us bitch about it. It's over. It's done with. It's a dead cartoon and toy line. It's never coming back. No one gives a shit. So why should we anymore? So yes, I will raise my hand up on this right here, and that yes, if me and Joe bring it up, if Joe brings it up, I will follow suit and watch that piece of shit episode because of Joe. And if I do it, I will apologize, and we will have to sit down and watch the island together.
Yeah, and then if at any point after that you guys do it again, then we do the prom episode. Which I only say that one because that's the one when I had to watch season 1 to talk about it with Joe. That was the one where I was just barely hanging on anyway, and then when that episode happened, I was like, God, how many more episodes are left? 5? Put a bullet in my head. Please. But anyway, the Treachery of Modulok was packaged with Thunder Punch He-Man and the Modulok figure itself. At least that's what I had in my notes, what I saw in the research. That
is correct.
That is correct. Okay. My thoughts initially when I was reading this book, and the thing that's going to kind of stick out is when we do mini comics, you know how we always talk about. Let me go ahead and flip it to this screen. Oh, and Tyler's camera's all.
What did you think of first when you seen Modulok? What was your first thoughts of seeing this Modulok looking like that, Nathan?
Definitely different from everything else that I've seen, because when you see him in Filmation, there's not two heads. You know, you have a scientist that transforms into what we have on Joe's face, and he's just sort of like a standalone character, not the multi-armed kind of deal going on. So it's definitely, and you know, I went into it looking at it like I've seen the action figure, so I knew what to expect. But when you see it here, shorter too, as well, and just kind of like short and like stretched out, so automatically it's kind of weird. And I was saying before that it's kind of the opposite, because when we go into the mini comics, I'm always looking at the art, right? So the art always stands out to me first, and then we'll see how the story is. And this comic in particular is kind of the reverse. Larry Houston did the art, and when I'm going through it, I'm like, well, this one's not the strongest. And actually, the scan for the book is actually kind of different than the images that I got on the org. The images I got here are a little crisper. So I'm looking through this, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, I'm not, the art's kind of hit and miss, but I like the story a lot. So that's where I get into the reverse aspect of it, where it's usually you're there for the art and the story's kind of secondary. Here, it's the story's kind of taking more advantage of. And now Joe's camera's all over the place, so I get to mess with camera. Okay, I get to mess with cameras while I'm trying to talk here. So that was the one thing that stuck out to me, and I was like, well, why is the art kind of like this? And it turns out that the Horde wasn't originally even supposed to be in this, so Larry Houston basically had to just completely redraw portions of it, which is why it kind of looks the way that it does, I'm assuming.
Which parts was it that you said maybe you weren't a fan of or thought was different?
Well, it's just as you're going through it, all the characters, like, in parts just seem kind of, like, it looks hastily drawn in a lot of parts. So that's when I kind of saw that section at the bottom, like, oh, it kind of makes sense, because I imagine he already had it done, and they're like, no, let's do this instead. And he's like, shit, I need to go back and just change all this. But the one that sticks out to me in particular, and I'll get to the screen that'll go through all the different pages for you guys in a second. But the shot where we got Roboto and Fisto, Many Faces, and Mechanic and Stratos and Buzz-Off, and I'm assuming is that supposed to be Cyclone? That's kind of the...
Yeah, Cyclone was colored with like flesh tone colors. Even in his own mini comic, Spike Horse Strikes, where he's featured prominently, he's given a different color scheme altogether and flesh tone.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of parts like that I'm looking at, and I'm just kind of like, but there are a few like decent parts to it. But I'm kind of curious because I don't know if Modulok is in other mini comics, if he sort of took on the same sort of like squatty, stretched out appearance.
He is. Okay. He is. He's only in a few of them. He's in Menace the Multibot, and he's in the I'll say, that famous episode where Joe couldn't remember what the hell the Slime Pit mini comic came with. He's in that one too.
Oh, is that the one where Joe and I were doing the episode and you messaged me during the show and was just like, no, this is what the deal is.
Yeah, Modulok's in that one too. He's not like full size, but he's in that one too. So he's essentially smaller though. And I mean, obviously, a lot of the stuff that was done in the mini comics is based on kind of
I think, right? I mean, I think it was just the Treachery of Modulok, Escape from the Slime Pit, Menace of Multibot, you're right. And then I think when this Modulok, if I'm not mistaken, I think is based off of some of the early concept art, right, too?
Yeah,
right?
That's kind of how most of these are anyway. And I think that's kind of why Cyclone looks the way that he does, too. Which I'm fine with it. Of course, when you're a kid or when we're, or you're discovering this stuff and finding answers in the early days of the internet, you're not given answers to a lot of this stuff. Like when you finally see a certain character, like, oh, why does he look so different in the cartoon than the mini comic, or why does the mini comic look different than the toy?
Yeah, like the stuff we find out years later as adults.
Yeah, and it left so much debate and people discussing this stuff left and right and having private conversations with each other about a lot of this stuff. And it feels good to hear that, even though, like, and I will say, like, it's definitely not one of Larry's strongest, but, it's understandable. But, like, I don't like Grizzlor being drawn with the Wolverine hairdo. Like, I like the way he draws Grizzlor in the Hordak mini comic is the action figure, and God, he looks awesome in it. Like, I picked that version over even how Bruce Timm drew him, which, Bruce Timm drew him as this giant hulking beast, which he looks great. But, I mean, this right here, that shot of him fighting Whiplash, that is by far my favorite depiction of Grizzlor in any mini comic of all of them. I just think he looks so menacing in that picture. And when you see him in the Modulok one, and from there on out, he's got the Wolverine haircut. I'm like, at what point did Mattel say, we need Grizzlor to be featured with the Wolverine hairdo? As if like just drawing the kind of fluff round head of fur, I guess. I'd like to know the logic in that, because everybody drew Grizzlor that way from here on out. Like, he's not looking like the toy at all. But we're getting off track here. But
I want to say I think it's pretty clever, and also like kind of disturbing that Modulok's just gonna break himself apart and send his pieces to various people. I thought
you definitely got the toy vibe.
That was one of my favorite. I'm like, that's kind of a cool idea, especially if you're
in a scheme that he came up with. That's what's great. It shows like, yes, he's willing to think. He's not just like a bumbling fucking person that works for somebody. He has an idea, and with him being in parts, I know it's giving, like you said, the toy vibe, because you think, Jesus, these are like living limbs, and where's the blood? But you don't think of that as a kid. You think, I understand it. It's a toy, and so they kind of did it in the mini comic like that, and then when it forms, bam, because it's a cool ass scheme to try to get into Castle Grayskull and to get some of these special weapons, but it is pretty cool. I'd always like that is the ass is talking too, right there. It's like you get the head, the other head, and even the ass is talking, because it's just weird, kind of a weird thing. I don't know if you noticed that. Modulok, and then the ass was talking, so even his ass talks.
Wait. Which panel is his ass talking here?
The first page. When he was saying Modulok, when he showed Modu, and then his ass. His little legs and ass.
Oh, okay. I see. I never really paid any attention to that. I was just...
Tyler, that's the motto, and...
Because people... And you know what?
That's the perverted side of Joe. Mrs. Kennedy, there you are. We have Joe the pervert on the podcast here.
I have people said I always talk out of my ass, and when they seen that, I had somebody specifically say it one time, so I get it. But yes, and Mrs. Kennedy, Teresa, again, thank you for watching and everything, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, and we didn't offend anybody. But and
I always like the top panel here is because it's in the Hordak mini comic too. Actually, seeing them hanging out at the Fright Zone like they're playing chess, like you kind of figure that's what masterminds do. Chess is a game of strategy and things like that, and to see Montana is playing a form of chess with Hordak at the actual toy version of the Fright Zone. I just thought shots like that are cool, like to actually see I mean, obviously you want to use the toy version, but it just left me wanting to see more use of the Fright Zone. Place it in the mini comics because it's used sparingly. When it's used, it's not used very competently. It's like in the Leech and Montana mini comic, but I just like. And then you see at night like Modulok's coming up and Montana senses it. It's just like it's a cool shot. I just always like that.
Yeah, the thing that for me, even as a kid, it's not to nitpick, but it's just kind of annoyed me. I always wondered, how'd they know about like this, shit? I used to always think, how'd they know what's in Castle Grayskull and where it's at and where to go? But I know that's just a comic. It's just establishing a story. Just, go with it. But it really irked me as a kid every time I see it. I was like, oh, fuck, they know what's in there and which one to take and what it's going to do. But again, I know it's a story element. It shows the power of some of, I guess, the things that are in Castle Grayskull, these special weapons and all the secrets that, we know nothing about. But just to show
I kind of feel like though, like you could get away with that in the first 2 years of the toilet, but by that point, Castle Grayskull was featured in almost every book. Everyone's after it, so you're gonna have to give a little bit more, at least to us, and emphasize why it's so important. Like, give us a little hints of the mystery of what's in this castle. Like in this one, there's some weapons that they're after. I mean, obviously they're pretty simplistic, but
it's just a little weird, just a little, because to me, it's just something about it just always felt a little off. Just when I seen it, I was like, I'm not vibing with it. I get it story wise, but I felt like it was just too quick. Something just seemed like it just not. I don't know. Something just.
I do kind of feel like because I think a lot of the cartoon, like they'll have a few random things. Oh, in this part of the castle we have this one. Really, it's kind of like it's the Sorceress Guardian. It has secrets. We don't know the secrets of it, and I think it's good that we keep it like that. Even though they have like various corridors that lead to different places and stuff like that. Like
I guess.
So let me ask you that: would you not rather we not know that Castle Grayskull has various corridors that lead to Etheria, that lead you right back to Snake Mountain, a la
well, here's the thing with that, which was interesting. I did like the weird little doors, but I guess with this, figuring if it's a room of special weapons with these kind of amazing powers, at least if anything, have it to where it's not accessible as easy as it was. I mean, he just basically just got into Grayskull, then he walks right down the fucking hall and it's there. Like, you'd figure you'd have to figure a way, how the hell can I get into this weapons vault with all this shit? You know what I mean? That's where it just felt too easy. I got in Grayskull, here's the weapon, let me get the hell out. I like the thought of there being weapons, but you getting to them that easy just felt like it should have been harder. Obviously, it should have been behind some more mystical walls, doors, something. I just felt like the access was just well, again, like I said, too easy to get in there.
Well, would you kind of?
I can't argue that.
Would you kind of want to go into the direction of like maybe there are more protectors that are sort of dispersed throughout to kind of protect certain sections that they have to kind of go through?
Times when because like,
I think of like the Secret of Grayskull, like when Skeletor successfully gets in with Clawful, Whiplash, and Cobra Khan, like there's spirits in the castle that are like the sorceress kind of disperses, like she uses the castle to her advantage. I mean, she is a sorceress.
Would you when we're saying like spirits, would you in your head kind of think that that's maybe like other fallen warriors in years past that like fought for the side of good, or
I wouldn't go into that. I would pretty much just essentially the castle is meant to illusions, because the castle itself is meant to scare off intruders. Like it looks like a place that you would not want to go into. Like that's kind of how it's introduced to us.
Mechanism. Yeah, it's defense mechanism.
Yeah. So you break into this castle, it's like you're going into a haunted house, and I would think you're there trying to scare out the intruders. So. Outside of traps and things like that.
But you got to think that, from the people that have tried, and let's say they try and obviously don't succeed, because that's kind of what we're used to in this sort of universe, that even if they were imprisoned, you would imagine at some point they would escape or something. Wouldn't they go and kind of dispel those secrets of like, hey, they'll try to have these to scare you, but don't worry about that. It's going to not really pose any threat to you. I think that's why I guess I would ask, would you prefer it to be like the haunted spirit sort of aspect, or would you want it to be like actual physical people or creatures, whatever, inhabit to protect it instead?
just the haunting aspect, I think, works great. And along with the combination, and not only that, I mean, you got to think of the toy. I mean, think of the traps the actual playset of Castle Grayskull had of its booby traps that were actually put into some of the stuff that we read early on, you know, with, like the record book and even the coloring books. They've even implemented that. So, yeah, and golden books. So it's just, for this, it was just too easy. But like I said, it wasn't like to destroy this mini comic because I'm not. It was a nitpick, but it still is a fucking fun little mini comic because they finally do get this goddamn thing that has an amazing, shield, which then that was their way, that was their introduction to showing the Thunder Punch. So, the sorcerers, you'll know when you're going to have to use it, and eventually he uses it and blows that fucking thing away. But like I said, I did enjoy this. It's not nitpicking because I've always said this Modulok is the creepiest one. It always reminded me of Ghoulies. He's just really devilish, nasty. He just looks like a little wet, nasty little shit. And
you guys have a lot in common, man. What?
Yeah, thank you. But no, that's what I'm saying. It's just, you wondered, how could you fight something like this? What would you do if it would split into all these different things? Because they always, it's even emphasized like how Man-at-Arms right there in that panel. There's 1,000 different ways, just like the toy. You can transform 1,000 different ways, but I did like it. And it didn't even Larry Houston, like he mentioned, like how he wanted to introduce somebody new. So we had the kid bring up the box. He wanted somebody completely new into the mini comic. Like that was his own character that he introduced. It wasn't just like reusing somebody like, Rayman's like, hey, here's a box. Even though, yes, we know Rayman and others get boxes. But I like that Larry would add new characters and different characters throughout his mini comics. Even somebody as simple and as quick as that to where it's not like a main character. It's still something like, hey, who's this guy,
Yeah, it's just and I think it's important. Like, it's not about like a pandering thing. Like, it's about expanding the world. Like, this is a vast world. There should be people of different skin colors, different backgrounds, ethnicities, various things, and they're not there to say, hey, look, here's a black child. You see people? There's a black child here. Like, no, he's here. He works in the royal palace. He is, an errand boy or. Maybe has aspirations to be a royal guard. We don't know, but it's just a bit of a world expansion, and that's all it is. People want to dig anything more to it, don't be an asshole.
But it also catches your eye. That's
it does, and it's important to see that. Like, just like his work on Slave City, where seeing the Native American aspect, of which I think that was really cool, and I'm curious if people find that offensive because Garn is drawn with the traditional Mohawk. That I guess people say is a stereotype of the Native American heritage. Like, it looks badass. Like, why is everything got to be a stereotype or something offensive? Like, son of a bitch, man. Like, I got Garn proudly on my wall over here that Kevin Sharp drew. Like, I don't want to see Garn without a mohawk or looking like the badass in the arena that he was in Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. In that one, that was a mini comic that was full of a lot of unique characters. But this, like you said, it could have been as simple as, like I said earlier, he could have had a palace guard or somebody that you might have seen in other ones.
Yeah.
So when you see new characters, it's good. It just adds to the flavor of the mini comic. It's just like I said, it catches your eye.
And it's a good mini comic. It's a good story. It features Modulok as a competent villain. He's not thrown away as like a dismissive, shit villain.
Well, the thing that like establishes him as a strong villain is the fact that He-Man and Skeletor have to team up to try to take him out. Like that right there should tell you everything you need to know in terms of what they were trying to go with, which I thought was another positive of the book. There was another thing.
These books should be doing. They should be getting over to the child that purchased this toy that this is a formidable villain for He-Man or Fisto or Stratos or Many-Faces or Buzz-Off and Mechanic to have to fight in your own private, playtime when you're interacting and having battles with your buddies and stuff like that. They should always be portrayed as like, okay, they will lose because evil needs to lose in these books, but they need to come off as threatening in a child's imagination. Like Grizzlor was portrayed perfectly. Like, he needs to be seen as. I want to see someone depict Grizzlor and do a movie poster based on the Grizzly movie and have Grizzlor like this, just like the movie poster, and have Tila by the bonfire. And do like a throwback to the Grizzly horror movie that was like a rip off of Jaws. Is anybody out there listening to this? Is anyone familiar with the movie Grizzly? Anybody?
Well, I mean, Grizzly was one of those things that did sort of come and go. I feel like found a better life when it came to video stores during that time.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it was as a kid because CBS would play a lot of those old horror movies a lot too. But I just always thought, like, based on that mini comic, it'd be cool if someone did like an homage poster.
That'd be cool.
All
right, Grim 2, you better get to work. Make it happen.
We'll see. Did he say something about that?
No, I just usually he likes to make art for different things, so I figure.
Oh yeah, like
like Stratos choking Joe out in his underwear, shit like that. So
thank you.
We need to see more depictions of Joe being choked out by various He-Man characters. You know,
exactly,
when he
just
shit
for
on
whatever reason, exactly. What I like, and the other thing about this mini comic, I always liked when, you had one bad guy go to the other bad faction, and you always, in not only cartoons but comics, you think, oh man, would the evil guys team up and they're going to go after He-Man? So it was always refreshing to see an evil person teaming with a good guy to take out a different evil guy. So you're right, at the end when there's Skeletor and He-Man decide, okay, we got to take out Modulok and Hordak, and then He-Man's going to go after Hordak, Skeletor's going to go after Modulok. It's just kind of cool. I always like seeing evil versus evil at times. And when the land shark had Modulok within its jaws, like, oh god, he thought I got him, and he splits and then goes. I like seeing more of that. It's like he wasn't taken out that easily. And of course they're all defeated at the end, but you can't help but have fun with this. I nitpicked one little shit part earlier, but hell, it led to us doing another one of our side rant fun discussions about Castle Grayskull. So everything happens for a reason, but yeah, do yourself a service, and definitely if you've never read this physically in your hands, get it. You see it here right now. It goes quick, but it's definitely a great mini comic to own too. And I've noticed
another thing that's good about this too is that, I'm sorry, Joe, I cut you off, and
that's okay.
I'm sorry because I deliberately cut you off. Because I just wanted to get this in real quick. Is that I really like how this mini comic depicts the Thunder Punch as a viable upgrade of power for He-Man. It's not done as a bullshit variant. Like, they actually work in the logic of this new variation of He-Man as part of the story. It's a new power that He-Man is gaining because of this power pack that the Sorceress gives him, because she anticipates now that this Force Shield weapon has been taken, He-Man needs something even stronger to break through with it, to amplify that. Modulok knew of this. We don't know how, but he went for this above all the weapons, a Force Shield. It's quite impenetrable, that He-Man himself couldn't do it without this Thunder Punch upgrade. And I like making the Thunder Punch gimmick something of value, that it's not just, it's a Neon Knight Rider Scuba Attack Batman from Kenner, some of that bullshit where, it's like it means something. Right. Like the Flying Fist, I felt could have been depicted a lot better. The Flying Fist, I felt like that was, and Battle Armor never got its own mini comic, as we've said before, which was a crime in itself. But I do like that this was treated with some dignity and not a shit variant, and that it
makes you use your imagination more as a kid. It does, because then when you see it, you're starting to do stories.
Speaking of your imaginations, and I'll kind of piggyback off of what Tyler was saying. Did you guys ever kind of create your own variant in your head of something that He-Man would have as an ability or a power to add to his repertoire? I imagine
right
Joe
over
did.
Here in my custom section, when I was 10 years old, I made Ninja He-Man. Do you want me to grab that motherfucker over here?
Sure. Oh my God! See what you've done now, Nathan.
So you guys stay there. I'll put you towards Jason.
While he gets that, Tyler, did you kind of have any ideas that? And I mean, even now, do you have an idea in your head of like a variant that you think would kind of work pretty well?
I think the actual He-Man character himself, like I'm fine with the Thunder Punch, and the Flying Fist are weapons, and the Battle Armor is a piece of it's a defense. So unless you're giving him a new weapon to use, and maybe a variation, I do like his armor piece on the Battle Armor and the Flying Fist that has the kind of HM motif. Yeah. That goes out, and I also like the logo that's on the Thunder Punch. So it would probably have to be, if they want to do something to kind of make use of the Mega Laser accessory, because to kind of give He-Man like a gun kind of weapon or something like that, which we really don't see He-Man with that.
Would that be a good way if you were to have like a gun weapon for He-Man? You would immediately kind of put him in a story with Rio Blast in a way, right? Would that kind of be the angle you would take with it?
Yeah, that this particular, I don't know. It's honestly, I felt we got enough of the variants, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. But honestly, I can't wholeheartedly recommend another because I felt like Flying Fist was more than enough. Thunder Punch was enough, and then Battle Armor never got used at all. So I'm quite happy with the 3 that we got because it really, when it comes down to it, I want to see He-Man with the Power Sword, with the shield, and on occasion with the Battle Axe. And it's cool to see the Flying Fist weapons used because they were a wonderful touch too. But I think beyond that, I'm quite satisfied with what we got. Yeah,
me too.
Overall, wholeheartedly.
Well,
really.
Joe's got Ninja He-Man over here. I was simply asking just because I never, as a kid, I didn't know if you had any memories of something. It's like, I
was so desperately trying because I didn't have the Power Sword as a kid, so I was all about He-Man using his Power Sword in transforming and sword fighting with anybody. That was all I was about because that's what was important to me. Is I want to see He-Man sword fight with Skeletor or any of the other Evil Warriors or the Horde of the Snake Man. It was all about that. So the Battle Armor, it would have been cool to have. Thunder Punch, it would have been so cool to have. And Flying Fist, I remember I was kind of bummed when I first saw it because he didn't have a Power Sword. I'm like, what? Because I only saw the cross-cell armor. I never actually saw Flying Fist in person as a child. So I used to wonder, like, what the hell is that gold ball thing? Like, I had no idea what it was. I mean, for the longest time, and I didn't know the shield spun either. So, Power Sword, it would suck to me.
Just like you guys, I mean, when there was any He-Man and Skeletor variants, loved them. I mean, I wasn't like crying out for more. That's what's weird. Unlike every new character we got, unique character, you were like, oh man, what are they going to release next? I never, as a kid, thought, what's the next He-Man and Skeletor? You didn't think about that. When it came, sure, it came, it was fun, but I never did it. But I will show you 2 things that the third one I showed you breakdown a long time ago, which you can see kind of up above my head somewhere. You'll see them. Anyways, there was 2 others, and you get to see my great penmanship when I was 10 years old. First comes Double Warrior, which is this, which is Stinkor and Webstore together. This is Modulok's neck peg, but I've had this since I was 10 years old, so that's that shit. But now we're gonna save the best.
I think there's fully grown adult men that make that shit now, and they think they should be given a pat on the back for coming up with such a whatever.
Here it comes.
Hey, buy a custom from me. I slapped a bunch of vintage parts together for $300.
Well, why Double Warrior? Why not just call it like Stinkweb or something?
I was 10 years old, Nathan. I was 10 years old. I don't fucking know. But here is Shadow He-Man. You ready?
Oh, boy.
Ready for Shadow He-Man? This one actually took some work. I mean, I made his this is all from when I was 10 years old. I'd never moved or changed anything, but I made this little hood. I gave him Sectar's armor because I had a lot of Sectar's figures, and I gave him that armor. And that's Shadow He-Man. This is the best fucking He-Man variant in existence, and you guys got to see the world premiere of it. So how about that? Can I show you something else?
My nads are popped now, dude.
I feel like with the way that looked, that's when Joe decided, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make all these Smurf crossover figures.
Oh my god, I've forgotten all about that.
You know how bizarre this is, though, that at 10 years old, I just did this little shit for fun with extra parts, and who would have thought that, fucking, you fast forward these years later, and I'm doing customs for a living. When we were kids, it wasn't even called customs. We were just taking our shit and having fun with figures.
No, to me, you were being destructive with your He-Man toys, and I'm like, I don't want to be friends with this guy. He destroys his toys.
Well, these were extras.
He's like said on Toy Story.
These were from friends. Now, I want to show you something that I mentioned. I think it might have been last week or a couple weeks ago. When I told you I won the Bubble Yum contest, so I was like fucking flipping out, thinking I'm getting every He-Man figure again, brand new, all this is going to be awesome, and all I got were 2 stampers in the mail. One was Buzz-Off, and one was Fisto, and this is the thing that was sent in the mail. It was a 2-pack with the Fisto. I'll try to get it closer. It's probably blurry. I apologize. But I told you, I was so mad as a kid that I didn't win the whole collection that I smashed the Buzz-Off one. I kept the Fisto, but I was taking everything around me.
You smashed the Buzz-Off one?
Yeah,
why?
Yes, I did. Again, that's the mentality.
You can't do that to Buzz-Off.
I was an angry little fucker, but so anyway.
I'd have been upset too, but to destroy anything with Buzz-Off on it, I mean, that's a crime in itself, man.
It is. I'm a bad person, but I told you. I am. And I was hitting some of my mini comics, as crazy as it sounds, on the back covers, but a lot of my coloring book in paint with water pieces, I told you I stamped the hell out of. Well, there was this piece I colored of He-Man and Skeletor when I was a kid, paint with water, that Buzz-Off's on here, but look, this is when I lost my shit. I stamped the living hell of that with Fisto, and Buzz-Off I lost my mind. And it was after this piece is when I smashed the Buzz-Off one and I kept the Fisto. I still got this.
Well,
this is evidence of
like
my insanity.
all work and no play made Joe Amato a dull boy. It's just kind of
like... Maybe I really have had a bad attitude all these
How much time passed in between you getting those in the mail and then smashing one of them, though?
Oh, well, like I said, it felt like it was the longest, but my mom told me it was about 6 weeks. And on day one, I smashed Buzz-Off. I was stamping everything, and I was so angry. I just smashed that fucking thing.
You didn't get an actual action? Because I've sent Joe the commercial of the Bubble Young, and you got no action figure? You just got some stamps?
This is it. I got a 2-pack. The box was, Tyler, shit you not, it was this big. And it was from, like Bubble Yum, and I was thinking, oh my god! But I was like, wait, what is this box so small for?
The entire collection can't fit in this small box. Oh no!
Well, hell, the commercial advertised winning the actual action figures. Yeah, so I'm surprised he didn't get at least one current figure.
Nothing. That's that. Now picture the anger, because as a kid, you don't understand about the other prizes. They don't really on the commercial right there want to get you excited, but you know that then there's other prizes. I figured it was the entire collection. I got this little box. I thought it was the start of something, but they said congratulations, here's your prize, and it was a 2-pack, or it was 2 stamps. And I'm like, what? And I was crying. And my mom knew I was upset, and I stamped the hell out of everything and busted that fucking Buzz off.
At least they didn't tell you to drink your Ovaltine or something like that, Right. It's fiction, little Joe. Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Well, exactly. if anyone has a Buzz-Off stamper out there, you want to send Joe Amato so he can recreate him losing his shit as a little kid. Please,
well, I'm just mad that he did anything like that to Buzz-Off. It's bad enough he shits all over Stratus, but to find out as a destructive child he destroyed a Buzz-Off stamp,
Yeah, I was mad, and I can imagine somebody sending me, and I'm starting to have like Vietnam flashbacks. I'm shaking with the fucking Buzz-Off thing. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, don't send me a Buzz-Off stamp.
I'm gonna look for one on eBay and just mail it to you.
I wouldn't break it though. If you sent one, Nathan, I would not break it. It would kind of
Sure.
At least Joe's willing to accept a free item like that and not take it as an insult.
He's turned the corner on that whole thing.
He has turned the corner. Yes, so it's.
Yep, if it wasn't for the podcast and you two guys, it probably wouldn't have happened. I would have never did that. But so thanks. And now I guess we'll turn it over to the chat room. If you guys have any questions for us, anything about cartoons, mini comics, cartoons, or anything else, now's your time. And while you're doing that, I'm sure, Nathan, you might have any questions from last week or something, or comments from any of the episodes.
There was one from Curtis Ackerman, and I didn't go back and check last week, but I'm like, I thought he popped in and asked this in the chat while James was on, with the little short script that James had read. This is when Curtis and please tell me someone asked this in the chat. How would things be different if Hordak kidnapped Adam instead of Adora? We did talk about that, right?
I don't think we.
In what ways would Eternia and Etheria be the same? And in what ways would they be different? Would Adora play the lazy princess role, or would it be more of a prissy, high-class princess that's too good to battle in order to hide her identity? Would an Adam Despara... What would an Adam Despara be like? What relationship...
No, we won't even talk about Despara.
Yeah, fuck Despara, man. That is such a shitty idea. It's some bullshit reason to get Adora back into the Horde, and they call her Despara. But there's the butch haircut and all this bullshit.
But we didn't talk about that last week, because I could have swore we brought that up.
No,
really?
No.
Oh man, that's.
But if there was a dynamic, I'd assume that. I mean, if the cartoons would have been written at the different times, I'm sure just the dynamic would have been the same for Adora and Adam, just in different worlds. But I mean. I know what he's saying, the prissy thing. You think, okay, with the girl, maybe there'd be a different kind of.
No, but that would make her obnoxious even to the audience.
Right.
The audience.
That's why I just like the thought of it. Yeah, it's just flipped in reverse. But I do love that question, Curtis, and thank you for that. Definitely, but Despara, I don't acknowledge it. Tyler doesn't. Nobody does.
Spider Rat said in the chat, I finally broke down and bought my first Classics figures, Titus and Megator, because the vintage ones are too expensive. Okay. I actually just bought a Titus myself to go with the Megator that I had, which I'm going to toss it out to you guys. If anyone has a Classics Montana, hit me up. But it's gotta be lower than that eBay price though, because I looked at that and I was like, I can't do that. But you guys got an extra one lying around. Leave a comment down below. We'll talk. We'll talk numbers. We'll figure it out.
Help Nathan out. But no, I agree. I mean, definitely, you're right. The vintage Titus and Megator, it's just ridiculous. And it's a surprise that they went with that scale for classics, because I told you when you put them next to each other, I mean, the vintage ones eclipse the classic ones. But the weapons is the most bizarre thing, especially when it comes to both of them. Titus and Megator have smaller type weapons for the vintage ones, but when it came to classics, their weapons are bigger and they're a smaller figure. I think I showed this when they first came out years ago. I was like, this is the most bizarre thing. Why the hell does the classics Titus have a bigger weapon than the vintage Titus, and vice versa? Same thing for Megator. I didn't know if you guys knew it, but that is one weird ass thing that just blew my mind.
They just got to make up for the fact that a lot of people weren't able to obtain them since they weren't around here in the States.
I guess so. Well, let's see. What did Buzz-Off ever do to you, Joe? Sportimus, I love the character. I was pissed at the stamp, but I appreciate that. Spider-Rat says he remembers the 900 number that if you called it so many times and mailed in a copy of the phone bill, they sent you a figure. Are you fucking serious?
There was a 900 line, but I don't know about all that.
Shit. I never called it. I remember the commercial because you're like, oh my God. I mean, I fell into a trap calling Freddy when I was a kid, and that was a bad thing that happened. Freddy Krueger, but didn't know. I never called the He-Man one. Last I checked, I'm trying to see a question from Sportimus. How has the Masters of the Universe brand and community positively affected you personally? Well, I mean, I guess the thing with me is meeting all you guys, Tyler, Nathan, every one of you guys. If it wasn't for Masters of the Universe, I would have never known you guys. We'd have never been doing this podcast, and I guess that's the best thing, to meet all you people and everybody in the chat room and listeners. It's fun. That we are a real loving community. Do we give each other shit? Yes, but I would have never met two of my best friends right here if it wasn't for He-Man.
And that's why, with that sentiment, Joe's got to show us his face eventually. Not you guys. He doesn't need to show you guys his face. Just needs to show us his face. I guess the main important thing for me is being friends with Tyler for 20 years now.
Yeah, since 10th grade.
Yeah, so that
I think 11th grade is when our friendship was like when we started talking wrestling, and you found out I liked He-Man and you didn't make fun of me for
about 20 years. I think the main thing with the show that's affected me is, especially now being on here every week as opposed to how it was before when I would just say, hey, we're live, go, and then you guys did the show, is it kind of made me get into it more, to the fact that it finally clicked. And I told Tyler this was before, it's sort of just been a passing interest since a kid. Like, I enjoyed it, I liked it, I had the figures, but Turtles and Batman and things like that sort of took the top spots for me. But now it's like it finally just resonated with me more, and it clicked, and I think this show has helped a lot with that. My wallet probably doesn't appreciate it as much, but it's been a lot of fun to get into it in a roundabout way, just sort of discovering all of this and most of it sort of for the first time, because I don't really count having like fuzzy knowledge and just knowing the name only is like, oh well, I know. It's like the mythology, knowing more about it, like the research and digging deeper and taking the notes while I watch stuff it's solidified it for me, and that wouldn't be a thing if I wasn't here. So yeah,
that's cool.
For me, I mean, outside of of course, meeting Joe and answering that casting call for Global Masters, and bringing Nathan in the fold, which I never thought would ever happen. It was like he would tease me. I was like, I think I'm going to watch a bunch of episodes. He's like, I decided to take a shit and rewatch Raw from last night, and it sucked too. I'm like, great. I'll never get Nathan to watch He-Man cartoons. But yeah, I mean, it really established a good friendship with Joe. We've had an amazing time on this podcast. I mean, just in the He-Man community in general. I mean, and this podcast to lunch is. I mean, it's helped us put in touch with Val and Danielle and James. The artwork alone has drawn me to Axel and Kevin. People who listen to this podcast, from when we only did audio to now, have contacted me over the years and thanked me for my opinions, Sometimes, some people multiple times, some people one time. It was just good to hear people took the time to tell me that they liked that I had an opinion about a property I didn't think anybody would give two shits about me talking about, even though I had a lot to say about it. So I'm thankful about that. I'm thankful that people provided so many answers to questions I've had, from stuff that James has shared, that Danielle has shared, that Val has put together, worked with people, and then they with interviews and things like that. Power and Honor Foundation put together a lot of answers to things, saying all these unsolved mysteries, that we would spend so much time in our downtime as kids and as teenagers, at least I did, wondering about this stuff.
With people who worked on the toys, the cartoon, the movie, the mini comics, who would have thought that ever would have happened? That's another.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing about this podcast is it allowed me to exploit. Like, I guess I thought people would be more excited about having some of the guests, and a lot of you people who've listened to this podcast didn't give two shits about it at the time. But we got William Stout on here. We got Robbie London, Anthony DeLongis was on here. We had Mark Taylor and Rebecca on here. We've had people who've worked on the property in the community, from like Axel and Kevin and Val and Danielle and James
Larry
on
Houston?
here. It's Larry, God bless the man, Larry Houston. Like it was just like, it was like, I mean, for me, I'm like, I want to talk to these people and use the podcast for that. And I hope people would be as excited as me and Joe were to have them on. But getting to sit down and talk to those people for free and have them engaged to where you could tell they genuinely liked talking to us. They liked what we had to say, that we didn't sit there just be like the Chris Farley show and, move our fingers like this and sweating. You remember that one time you drew Skeletor? That was cool. And a lot of like awkward silences and shit like that. Like, we took
you don't get that with us.
Yes, we are recording on an iPad, or at the time on my phone. We're not very professional here. We get that.
I'm trying.
But our passion.
I'm trying to make it a little more professional.
No. I'm making fun of when I reached out
to
Sheldon Lidditch to get him on Beyond Retro, and he was very shitty towards me because we do the podcast from a phone. So he was very down and ugly to me about that.
Sorry, we couldn't afford to fly you out to our home studio or something.
Oh, I know.
But isn't it funny? I found it pretty hilarious myself that since the COVID, the epidemic is like the pandemic and everything is just running rampant, that all of these people now have to do their talk shows and shit just like this. I'm like, that's funny.
Just like us.
Yeah, ESPN, all those shows, the guys are using low quality technology to like give their thoughts on the Last Dance documentary. And it looks like they're recording off their phone. I'm thinking,
even worse than mine.
Our production values are better than theirs. It's awesome.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But that's what shocks me. You figure they have all the money. It's like nobody should have anything that looks worse than what I do. But I agree. I've seen stuff on TV. I was like, what the fuck is that? But you know what's funny is, like you said, people that might want to turn us down because, like you said, we're using tablets or computers. I guarantee they'd have more fun than doing a podcast with anybody else where it's all of it kind of, how you doing today? All right. That fake-ass voice. Yeah, that stuffy, that fake-ass bullshit voice and everything. We bring out real feelings and emotions from every damn guest we've had. And you know what's funny is, even talking about the cussing, I think every guest that's been on this show has cussed and dropped an F-bomb. And not that I'm, like saying, hey, go ahead, everybody cuss. But you know what? If you're doing that with people, that's when you know somebody feels comfortable and feels natural around you. To have people that you don't even know dropping F-bombs or cussing, you know you're doing something right. So that's something you get out of us. So fuck it, you're right.
I am proud to say that everybody that Joe and I have had on this podcast, we got like reactions like more than we bargained for, because we could sense a great level of comfort with them. So a guy who wears a mask and a guy that's just like asking all these like very minute, specific questions was actually welcomed and appreciated, and that we weren't, these guys sat down, and even though they knew nothing of us, once they got a vibe from us, I mean, these guys all stayed on with us for at least, 2 hours at least and
wanted to return.
Yeah, they all I know Anthony said he'd come back to us. William Stout agreed to a third one, but that never worked out for whatever reason. And Larry's been on with us 3 times. Mark Taylor said he'd come back. Robbie London genuinely enjoyed talking to us as well, which, Joe, I'm going to give you shit for passing up on that one. You could at least talk to him about Heart of a Giant.
And we did all of this using Google Hangouts, which was a huge pain in the ass to try to get him on the show. Now it'd be so much easier.
Was.
It's like, hey, you got Skype? All right, let's go.
Yeah, and And that was another thing. Spike asked me, or I said a while back, why do I have more guests on? Like, it was always a pain in the ass trying to get people used to Google Hangouts. It was always a problem. I remember I spent time with Robbie London on a Friday evening talking to him, trying to get him, acquainted with it.
Google Hangouts was like as convenient as it was, and how simple it looked for us to do it that way. When that went away, honestly, probably the best thing to happen to the show. Kind of forced my hand to learn something else. And it makes it easier, because now, like I said, you just be like, oh, you got Skype? Let's go. Let's figure it out. Anyway.
Yeah, I think most people are more familiar with that, of course, even today. But that was always the biggest thing, is trying to get people, because trying to get them, because a lot of them are of an older generation than us. I'm not tech savvy. Who am I to talk? But it was a problem to get them linked up and hooked up. Would it work or not? That was always a problem. Like when we had Larry Houston on, our first major guest, it was a disaster in terms of audio, because it just wasn't working properly. And it's honestly, it's been nice just sitting down talking to Nathan and Joe, and when we'll have James, Danielle, Kevin, or I'm sure Val will come back at some point. Man, just sitting down.
Dude, when we had Val on, I think it was the last time we had Val on. When we finished, I didn't get, because you guys left the call after a while, and I was just talking to Val. I think I was talking to him until 3 o'clock in the morning. We were just talking about anything.
Jesus.
Just talking.
Oh, no, after Joe left, I had to be up in the morning, at 5:30 in the morning. I'm talking, it was past midnight. We were talking, just me, Nathan, and Val, just shooting the shit and talking about, the business and things like that. And that was really cool, because we talked to Val a few times privately, but it was really cool to have that kind of comfort level with all these people that I have seen on the org, various places. You've seen them in interviews at PowerCon and San Diego, and they're all humble people, but it was just kind of surreal to have that kind of camaraderie with them. That and it's not like all of us are talking on a regular basis, but when we do talk, it's like we never lose a step. It's
and in most cases, when you guys have had the reoccurring guests on, and I brought them on, that's like the first interaction that I've had with them. So it's like I've never talked to them before, period. And to work a show around that, it's like with Joe. I didn't even know Joe when I started doing Beyond Retro. It's just you pop in and you're just talking. It's strange how this whole thing works out sometimes.
Yeah,
we've had some bumpy time. What's that, Joe? Go ahead. Sorry.
I think, no problem. No, I think that's the thing, is a lot of times people overthink things or get too nervous saying, oh, God, how am I going to interact with this person or do this? But you find it does come so natural. I mean, Tyler was like, man, you're going to love Nathan. This guy, he loves wrestling, does this. And right the first time we start talking, bam, it's like you think we were always friends and have been doing this for years. And that was the first time.
I like to think, too, that, because people will say stuff like that, and people can come off of social. They may like the same things, but you can't interact with them for whatever reason. And I don't like to just throw out stuff that, because Nathan, has been my best friend since high school. I didn't want to just say that, oh, you'll like him because he likes wrestling. Like, I knew Nathan's personality would mix with Joe's pretty easily. Like, it's just not something, people don't always just mix, even though not everybody who likes wrestling is going to get along with Nathan, because Nathan is very vocal about wrestling.
Like that dumb asshole at KB Toys that thought Ultimate Warrior's finish was the...
Where was Joe during that discussion?
He thought Ultimate Warrior's finish was a gorilla press. I'm like, no, man, it's the splash. The press is a setup for the splash. No, man, his finisher's the gorilla press. Yeah. No, fuck off.
No, KB Toys employee. They had the gorilla press. Yeah, because there was the gorilla press into the slam, then eventually, the splash, and then it was the flying tackle that was the splash. So he had a couple different ones. But you're right, there's some people, You know what's weird, though? Here's the other thing, is I know you guys are just like me as well, but you ever have that to where there's people that, let's say you could type talk to, but then if you were ever to talk, they feel uncomfortable. It's like their personality changes. That's the one thing with us, at least, I think I can agree. I'm going to be the same how I'm typing, how I'm talking to you here, how I'd be in person. But I've noticed that with people, there's sometimes their ways change, like they feel a little weird or awkward. I'm like, don't feel awkward. Just, it's natural. If that's how you talk when you're typing, talk to me like that. Don't feel like you got to hold back or like, hi, Joe. Yeah. And then, these weird awkward silence parts, that stuff could drive me nuts. It's like, just feel natural.
And, well, and the thing that like makes that worse is we're doing this and we're in a camera and we're like live. So I remember doing Beyond Retro. I went to Tyler's house, terrified. If you guys go back and watch that first episode of Beyond Retro, I am terrible. I'm like just.
I'm gonna go back and watch. Link it here because I want to watch that one again.
I was so nervous. I'm like, why? I don't know why I should be. And that's the thing too. If anyone out there wants to even attempt to do this, you gotta like check the nerves at the door. Anyway, there are a couple more questions in the chat. This is not Masters.
Yeah, you hit the questions because mine's out of order. So you do it, Nathan, before we wrap up before 11.
Femon asked, whose situation was worse? Marty almost banging his mom in Back to the Future, or Luke almost falling in love with Leia in Star Wars: A New Hope? I would say Marty.
I would say Back to the Future. Back to the Future. My God, could you imagine that? Talk about a time paradox or something. Yeah, everything would have been, the whole space-time continuum would have fucking destroyed. So that's a sick thought, though.
Because Luke and Leia was sort of like they're attracted to each other, but there's no action taking place. Whereas like Marty, his mom is like he's there in his underwear in the bed, and she's like right there, like ready to pounce on him.
Calvin Klein's.
Yeah, but it's Leah Thompson playing his mom, though, dude. It's kind of hard to argue against that, though, man. I'm sorry. I'm quite, I'm quite fixated with Leah Thompson, so I'm like, well, do it, man.
Well, all right. So Joe Tyler officially, as of tonight, loses the T-Rex nickname. He is now Tyler Mother Lover Baker.
Oh God, Mother Lover.
What can I say? When I watch Back to the Future, it's hard for me to feel. I mean, it just kind of is like. When Leah Thompson's staring you down, she can play whatever. Like, it's if she looked how she looked in Howard the Duck and she's coming after Marty McFly, I'd say, dude, you better bend, like you right here, God. Or start playing that John Rule song, face down, ass up, It's that rap song Nathan used to like to sing all the time.
Well, anyway,
Leah Thompson's hot. She's still hot, man. So I'm sorry. I can't argue that.
Tyler's got a piece of her hair in the Howard the Duck poster frame because somehow one of her hairs like fell onto the poster, and when he folded it up, it stuck there. He put it in the frame. So
no, she said
or nothing.
I swear to God, on my entire He-Man collection, she said, "Just here, that fell off. I'm sorry. You just keep it on your poster there." I swear to God, on this entire collection, Leah Thompson told me to keep a piece of her hair that, for whatever reason, just kind of fell down. Did that happen
after you came up to her and sniffed her and you accidentally pulled one of the hairs? Is that how it happened? I just can't picture a hair.
What are you
just
doing?
Oh,
nothing. I'm just trying to get this so I can clone my own Leah Thompson.
Brushing lint.
Right,
yeah, he's brushing some lint.
Before you guys start filling up people who listen to this episode with all these bullshit things and stories and stuff like that, I'm sorry. The woman is standing in front of me, carrying on a conversation with me after she gives me gives me the autograph and everything. A hair gets tangled or something. That part is kind of. I just know that it was lost and it fell down. She laid it on the poster. I can
attest to it.
It's in the poster still. It's still there.
I'm saying I can attest to it because I was standing right beside Tyler when all this went down. Yes. So it did indeed happen that way.
Excuse me, Miss Thompson. You got something on your shoulder.
Yeah, I know Nathan likes to bullshit when this story comes up and completely like. Dismiss any credibility I had, but he was there. He did see it.
It did happen. She was like, "Ha ha ha! Yeah. You can keep that something a little extra." And Tyler's just like about to turn into a puddle in the floor. But
oh my God, yeah. When Leah Thompson gave me a lock of her hair, and I'm not being a weirdo. I'm just being a sincere. Nathan went in for a hug, and I'm like, "You can get hugs," and she gave me a hug too. Because Nathan was more brave. I was starved. If I could shit my pants, I probably would have. Because I was so starstruck.
Yeah,
and when Nathan was like, "Mac," and I got to get a hug from you. I didn't get an autograph, so I got to get a hug.
If Tyler could have shit his pants, he would. Just like in episode 11 of Beyond Retro, American Gladiators, when Tyler did get sick earlier in the week and actually did shit the bed. And didn't know that we were live when he
I like all this reference to this podcast. So many people who listen to this show now will get off their lazy ass and say, we tried to provide some extra fun content about other things other than He-Man, and you all just couldn't give us the damn time of day. You should be to listen to some asshole sit around saying, I like King Hiss, and then they, they fart, clear their throat, blow their nose, and he's original. He's mint on card, or at least he was. So subscribe to my channel. I've got over 1 million views. Next week I'll be discussing the peg that Orko came on that was shoved up his ass. We'll be talking about the color scheme the dynamics of it, and all this other bullshit.
I'll talk about things.
We got so much more content to offer people. That's what made me so mad about Beyond Retro. No one gave a shit.
If you guys want to check,
hit us with one more good one, Nathan.
Yes.
One more good one before we wrap it up.
By the way, I had that question from the listener on the Fans of Power podcast. I'm saying like make sure we get him next week. Let me at least give him his name here because he did from Rolo Tomasi. He asked about the powers of Grayskull. We will make sure we honor your question first thing next week because I told them earlier we had this. And Nathan and Joe laughed at me and dismissed me.
I said make sure you keep that on your phone.
But look, the guy took time to leave a question. I'm going to announce him on here or her. I don't know. I don't want to be judgmental. So him or her, we will make sure you're the first question that we cover on the question segment next week. I promise. So everybody in the chat room next week, this person goes first. Just to let you know,
he's a he because I've made custom before.
Yes, he goes first next week. So we will honor his question first thing next week. So. Okay.
Okay.
Last question.
Yeah, Joe said he had one more. I thought I saw another one from Sportimus that we could probably get to like really quick too.
Well, just hit. I was saying you, Nathan, because mine's out of order. Hit us with one more before we wrap it up here, because I gotta get out.
Yeah, Nick's got to skedaddle here. Come on, people, give us a good one. Come on, people.
Now I can't remember where it was. No.
Well, we have faith in you, Nathan. You can find it. You can find it.
What changes would you make to New Adventures He-Man series that would make it more appealing? Maybe even to you or sort of like the masses. What would be some of the changes you would make? Maybe
better voice acting. Get rid of the scientists. Yeah, the music. Keep all the sword fights because they had sword fights in the show. Utilize.
And it had great anime. I mean, the animation was great, so I wouldn't say change the animation because it was great. If they were to do some different character designs, I understand that, but definitely the voices.
Adam needs a different design. Like I think they need to wrap up the idea that he needs to look drastically different than Adam on Eternia. That way, you don't have to worry about the idea that Skeletor can't figure out that Adam's here. Oh, he's a merchant. Like, no, there's a couple small things, easy things that can be changed because there's so much good to be had with New Adventure, as we've said before. But I would change the voice acting first and get rid of the scientists. That would be my pecking order of priorities. And then go down the list of what Joe was saying as well.
Yeah, perfect. But that was a great question. Who was that from, you said?
Sportimus. I want to say Papa Hood 69 said this show needs more subscribers, and I totally agree. We are almost at 500, so if you guys can spread the word.
Yeah, and yet oddly enough, we're not getting over 500 people watching this podcast. It needs more subscribers, but we need to shame the people who subscribe but don't take the time to go back through and watch it when it premieres or go back and rewatch it.
I do appreciate their subscriptions, though, because I wouldn't want them to unsubscribe. Then we're kind of going backwards in that regard.
No, I'm just, I like to think that this is a niche podcast. This is not a podcast like the Joe Rogan podcast or something like that. We are a niche podcast. So to get that, I like to think that people subscribe is because they like our content. They like our personalities. They like what we talk about. There should be a little bit more to just subscribing to us. Other than, hey, it's one of those retro channels. I'll subscribe to that and then, go back to licking the cat's butt or something like that.
Well, that's why I do stress, which I do say here, and Eric Sanchez, I appreciate that. So I'm like my customs too, and I appreciate that. And thanks. I don't know if you're new. This might be the first time I've seen you, and if you are new, make sure you like it. Well, here's the thing. I always say for people that are new, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell so you can always get notified when we go live. But I do emphasize share the podcast because then there could be more people that could start getting their eyes on it. And also, when we say if you want to comment below of what you thought about the episode, like, not just here in the chat, but later you can leave some comments down there, or even questions for next week. The more activity that happens with this episode in the channel, it can start popping up and suggestions for people that might like Masters of the Universe. So it helps. The activity helps. So really, I mean, we do appreciate everybody that has subscribed already. But yes, if you subscribe, share, ring the bell, and just make some questions and comments down there below in the comments section. And then we can, of course, read them next week. But activity helps. And it can help us grow and help get our passion out and the word out, because that's what we love doing. We just love sharing Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power, New Adventures. We're trying to keep it alive, especially when there's nothing happening out there. I mean, yes, we'll be getting a cartoon soon, but we're still going to always be talking about the stuff from the past. There's so many great things, and hopefully, there'll be great things in the future. But
we just want people to feel like when they're done listening to us, that it encourages them to go to YouTube and watch the episode we did commentary for, or go watch, or go purchase this and look at the mini comics, or just send you down a rabbit hole of research where you're Google searching, you're going to He-Man.org, you're going through Facebook groups and looking for interesting artwork, or people want to buy some toys like Nathan, add to your collection. You want Joe to do a custom of a character that's never been done before, or something like that. Like, we just want you to walk away and carry that passion that we've got along with you to work the next day. That when you're thinking about, I'm going to go on eBay on my lunch break and start looking up these characters, or I'm going to go look up the VHS tapes and add start a collection of that. We just want you to carry on this stuff. That's what it's about. We're not doing this for money. We're not doing this for perks or anything. It was in the beginning. I was hoping someone would notice me and hire me so I could relaunch this whole brand and have a great career, letting everyone know that I can recreate He-Man and give it the respect it deserves. But I'm over that now. I'm just here talking with my good buddies about a property that is the best of the best. So
it is, and if you don't have a lot of money, it's just like what Tyler just showed with that Dark Horse book for the mini comics. I'd say that's your best bet of getting every mini comic, if you obviously all into one. Because if you're to search for them, that's what I was going to say earlier and I forgot. I can't believe the prices of some of the mini comics, how much they've increased on eBay within the past year. It's like, what the hell? That one was never no $80. It's like, the Ultimate Battleground has always been the most expensive and still is. But I was like, why are the other mini comics reaching this price level? So yes, I do stress, get the Dark Horse mini comic collection. That whole book. And
it is convenient to have this. Like, I was kind of against getting these compendium books. But it really is nice to just either sit in bed and before bed and just and it's been good for Nathan too. It's plus unless you really want to put them on display, if all you're going to do is just get them and put them in storage, just get them. That's not really. It's just kind of pointless. I feel like I don't own all of them individually. I got a large collection, but you know what? I'm happy to have this for reference to go.
And it keeps you from ruining the originals, because I like that I don't have to touch them now, because I used to always have to grab every one of my mini comics, keep them right in there, go to the big one. And I guess with the last one, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's heavy enough, you could probably beat somebody to death with it if you wanted to.
Anybody decides to say that Stratos is a shitty character, just shove this, right in their nuts. And then just take it with both hands and whack him across the jaw with it.
His name is Joe Amato. Remember that. And Patricio, one quick thing says, how did you react to Kevin Smith saying that there will be no redesigns for the characters in the upcoming series? And if he's staying true to that, that'd be great. I'd love it. The thought of, yes, it's going to be a different art style, but the thought that the characters aren't going to get a redesign and completely different and be so far removed from the character that they might as well be somebody else. I'll give them that, and hopefully it will be a great series. I guess we're going to find out in 2020, I believe. But thank you, Patricio. I guess we'll leave it with that last question. And I said my spiel earlier about subscribe, like, share, ring the bell, and always be notified when we go live. What were you going to say, Nathan? Before I do my,
I was going to say, check out all the links down below. You want to print out Joe Amato mask? It's there. You want to join the Facebook group? It's there. You want to go and download the audio versions of the podcast? It's there. You want to download the Leech mini comic that Tyler wrote? It's all down there. Check all that stuff down below. Click on them.
We do appreciate
Buy Joe's t-shirts.
We appreciate everyone. Yes, you can buy my t-shirts too, and you can talk shit about my Stay Buffed and all my other customs. And until next time, have a powerful day.
I'd like to change some classes.
That sounds so damn detailed that I think I should know that. Nathan, you got this one?
Can we have a hint? I feel like an idiot.
Well, Michael J. Fox was in a previous film that I'm quoting.
Shit.
What? Can you say that line again, though?
Teen Wolf 2.
Holy shit.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Teen Wolf 2, yeah. That's what I like about this. I like being able to tie in obscure movies to a He-Man podcast that, you know what, you would never hear Teen Wolf 2 brought up on any other He-Man podcast. Take that, Roach Google. How about that, Val?
Oh, no. No. Oh, no.
Val's
I'm throwing down the gauntlet, Val. Beat that.
Well, that is one movie. I'll say that I was so pissed with that movie. I hated it so much. I seen it once, so I
love Teen Wolf too. I don't care what people say about it. I love Teen Wolf
you can
too.
love it. Hey,
no. I know people shit on the film, and I get why, but I'm like, I like it. I love both Teen Wolf films, but I saw the first one first. I saw the second one first.
Is that scene still intact on the DVD at the end of the first movie where that dude like drops his pants and shakes his dick and balls around? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, it finds out that's a girl actually.
What?
Like I think that's actually a woman in the first one with the zipper undone. That's a woman apparently.
I thought it was the guy that had his penis.
Yeah,
come
I thought
out.
it was at the end. Like, I thought it was at the end, like in the stands when they're all like celebrating.
Yeah, in the stands.
In the stands, no, there's no dick and balls out. It's just underwear exposed, and if you look closely, the pants get zipped up, and apparently it's a woman, not a guy.
I thought there was. I don't know. Maybe either way, it's.
Maybe Beyond Retro has to come back and we do commentary for Teen Wolf just to look at someone's supposed back.
Grimbot's confirming it's a woman too, but God, I always thought there was supposed to be a wiener. I don't know.
Well, I did too, and I think a lot of people thought it was, but it is a woman, and you do catch her zipping her pants up in the scene.
Well, damn, she was doing something special either way. But
you heard it here now. Tyler wants to bring back Beyond Retro. It's not going to happen. I'm just.
Fuck no, we're not doing that. People had their chance. The only way that would ever happen is if, well, you know what? No. You know what? No.
Don't even get their hopes up. All right.
I guess it's been confirmed. What Tyler said, I see nothing beyond it, but everybody's confirming it from Grimbot to JSP. They said it was a woman. She undid her pants to loosen her pants, and she was sitting down. So, yeah, I guess that's it. So, there you go. I guess one urban legend debunked. It was a woman, and it wasn't a guy with his wiener out.
There we go.
See you guys next time.
What a way to end the episode.